Hello. Are we live?
We're live.
Are we on the air?
We are on the air and live. Let's rock. We got a special guest. This is a very special episode of Focus Fights, and I'm just so excited. Oh, Jay Krish, this is your show. You might as well do the intro, but I'm super hyped for this show. This is going to be one of the best shows that we've ever done.
Okay. Well, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, what's good, y'all? It's the Chillmeister, Chris Gary. It's JayWolf. And a special guest from the RIZIN FF offices in Tokyo, Japan. We got Hafid Darbaki, as this is a very special edition of Focus Fights Audio, the video edition if you're watching, audio if you're listening on the various podcast platforms of choice. We hope that you check us out and, follow us, subscribe to us. Share, subscribe, rate, and review if you can, because it helps us get our algorithm going. But still, though, enough about all that. We are here to basically talk about what transpired with the RIZIN Otoko Matsuri show that happened at the Tokyo Dome last weekend.
One of the best shows that they've done. The 40,000 plus fans. Who knows how many pay-per-view buys, just absolutely sensational. And just, man, I cannot rave enough about the opening ceremony. It was so fantastic. It gave me Almighty Pride FC vibes. And I'm sure we're going to go into all that. But everybody, go get that replay right now on RIZIN.tv. It's still available. You don't want to miss this show. It was so freaking good. Every Epic RIZIN show is fantastic, but this one was really absolutely sensational from the opening ceremony on. Just absolutely stellar, and and I can't thank you enough, Hafid, for appearing on the show. We got Hafid here, an actual RIZIN Fighting Federation staff member is here in the house with us on Focus Fights. How great is that? Also, we want to make a note. This is also a day after Victory Day of World War II. And you see right here, that's my dad right there. He was a World War II veteran. Just want to give a shout out to all the World War II veterans out there, and happy Victory Day, or day after Victory Day. But man, let's get this show started. This was Hafid. Welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for coming on here and doing this show with us. I'm so excited about this. This is just awesome. So again, thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. And come to think of it, since we are talking about RIZIN Otoko Matsuri, I guess we can start the big elephant in the room. Over 42,000 people came to the Tokyo Dome to check this show out. But people still want to trash it and basically call this promotion not a major promotion, a feeder promotion to the
regional league.
Those are UFC fanboy dingalings that are butthurt that there's a major player rising in the East, and yes, pun intended, rising in the East here in the Far East, and the numbers don't lie, and they're consistently selling out 20,000 plus. This one at 40,000 plus. Hey, Hafid, is there any way you can give us any guesstimation on the pay-per-view numbers? Or if you can't say anything, don't even trip. We totally understand. But is there any guesstimation? Because remember, Sakaki Barasan, the CEO of Epic RIZIN, he said before that usually the base for you guys is around 100,000 pay-per-view buys for regular events, and then for these big flagship events or tentpole events, whatever you want to call them, it's usually 300,000 buys plus. Is there any way you give us any kind of rough estimate of the pay-per-view numbers for this one?
Yeah, actually, we just had a press conference the other day announcing some fights for the event in Sapporo in June. And Sakaki Barasan is on record doing an interview, like a media scrum after the press conference. And he said the pay-per-view numbers for Otoko Matsuri was pretty close to the match 2 between Ren Hiramoto and Mikuru Asakura last summer. So it was a massive success.
Excellent. And for everybody, the match was the kickboxing super fight between Tenshin and Takeru, and that one scored about 500,000 pay-per-view buys, they said. So being close to that is fantastic. That means it was well over the 300,000 that they usually get for the big tentpole events. So that was just absolutely fantastic. And this is with an event where it had an injury replacement for the main super fight with Mikuru Asakura was originally supposed to face Ren Hiramoto, which would have done even more numbers. So they probably would have beaten the matches numbers, would have probably got over 50,000 plus fans in attendance, probably would have got over 500,000 pay-per-view buys. So just absolutely stellar. And that fight can be happening in the future at some time. So, I mean, just the sky is the limit for the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation.
Yeah. I just wanted to say I really want to give credit to Chihiro Suzuki. He's been stepping up for us recently, taking on these big fights. Obviously, he fought Kleber on New Year's Eve, turned around in March to fight Doubtbeck, and then turned around again 5 weeks later to fight Mikuru Asakura. And all three of these fights were not easy fights. They weren't just low action, low output decisions. These were wars, and he got hurt in these fights. So. Just massive credit to him. He deserves to take a break, but knowing him, he'll probably want to make another quick turnaround. So,
yeah, we like to call him Chihiro with Hero Hero. So what we call the guy is such a badass fighter. I mean, like you said, just in March, this was like a 4-week turnaround from where he had a arguably fight of the year candidate with Doubtbeck, where I mean on my scorecards he won, but it was such a close fight. It was an absolute war. And just incredible that the man, just a quick turnaround. It must be because he's, barely 25 years old. So he's got that Wolverine blood in him, Wolverine from X-Men, the superhuman healing and stuff. So it's just absolutely incredible fighter. And would you guys let him take some time off from mixed martial arts and go back to, because he's a knockout champion right now in kickboxing. Would he be, would you guys let him go defend his title in knockout maybe before the end of the year? Maybe take a break from mixed martial arts, defend a knockout title, or is he focused solely on mixed martial arts right now?
Based on the interview he gave in the post-fight press conference, he was basically saying, he wants to take some time off. He still is very motivated to fight. But in RIZIN, we always allow these fighters with multiple commitments to honor those commitments. Yaman just fought at Rise against Miguel Trinidad, I think was his name. Very strong fighter. So if Chihiro, if he wants to, before making a return to the RIZIN ring, wants to step into the kickboxing ring, I'm sure that's something that RIZIN would allow him to do.
You know what? Come to think of it, and I was just basically briefed on this like moments before we even got onto the air. If you're listening to this live or watching this live, sorry, my video platform ain't on. I am a little bit hungry, but still, though, does this also mean that when it comes down to Bay Noah, Black Panther Bay Noah, who just won a fight in LFA like a few months ago before we even press record on this, does that mean he fall under the same, considerations as Chihiro Suzuki would?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how active Bay Noah plans to stay in kickboxing. I don't even really know too much about how the LFA fight came together. I think he just said he wanted to fight one time overseas. But yeah, I mean, I think generally what you see for RIZIN fighters, these guys oftentimes are competing in multiple platforms. Like Takagi Ryo, he just fought Kyoma Akimoto. He fights in Pancrase as well as RIZIN. So I'm sure Bay Noah, once he feels ready or once we find a matchup that is interesting for him, he'll be back in RIZIN in no time.
And did you guys know that Bay Noah was going to LFA? Was that any part of any kind of exchange? Because on the Heavyweight Grand Prix that just happened at Otoko Matsuri, there was an LFA representative fighter that was there. Was Bay Noah part of this, maybe fighter exchange or anything?
Well, the thing with RIZIN is we always have contact with these international promotions. Our matchmaker, Shingo, has very good relationships with a lot of these managers and promoters overseas. So honestly, I want to give a lot of credit to him for pulling these fights together, making these fights happen, and also giving our fighters opportunities to fight internationally. Yachi fought last year in Paris against Mansour Barnawi. Shinobu Ota fought last year, I believe, in Dublin against Roger Blanc. So we're always, willing to share fighter talent as long as other promotions are willing to. So as far as Bay Noah being a direct trade with the LFA for Jose Augusto, I don't believe that was a direct trade, but it just highlights, how open we are as a platform, as a federation to share talent.
No, I didn't mean like a direct trade, like Ben Askren for Mighty Mouse. I meant like a collaboration, effort, you guys were sending over Bay Noah and they were sending over Augusto for the Heavyweight Grand Prix. And we want to say what's up to our viewers here. Suplex 10, what's up, brother? How you doing? He just wants to say the PFL sucks. Yeah, I'll call him PF Fumble because, Dummy Don Davis, he ended the collaboration with the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation, which was just the worst move we ever seen in our lives. I can't believe it. That's why we just cannot stand the Dummy Don Davis and the PF Fumble. But actually, speaking of that, because we're just talking about LFA and the relationship you guys have with them. Sakaki Barasan, the CEO of Epic RIZIN, on the post-fight interview you're talking about, I saw him mentioning something about, possibly the PF. Is there any possibility? This is what I'm trying to say. Is there any possibility that collaboration with PFL could be reignited? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think. Especially since we brought in Danny Sabatello, former Bellator fighter, fought in PFL. He's contracted with us now, but like I mentioned before, we've met with some PFL execs in the past. Sakaki Barasan said at the media scrum after the press conference the other day that PFL execs are coming to Japan again to have some more meetings. So there's always potential to work with anybody, not just the PFL. And I do want to say, I love the energy you guys have on this podcast, the character you guys have on this podcast. And anytime you guys say something about PFL or Smart Cage, or I love it. It's entertaining. But I do want to clarify, as a RIZIN staff, I'm excited to see what PFL is doing, and I fully support what they do. So I just don't want anyone to get the wrong message. But I do love your guys' energy. I love your passion about these topics, and I know in your guys' hearts you want to see some collaboration. You want to see something exciting happen between RIZIN and PFL. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yes, absolutely.
That we do, because of the fact that anything that helps RIZIN get over in our neck of the woods, which is the Western Hemisphere, the United States of America, North America in general as a continent, anything that helps boost RIZIN's profile over here is definitely a plus for us, just as long as it gets the right coverage. And, right now I'm looking at this question from Kathal Kully, and then we'll get on to the rundown of this card from main event on down. Quick question. I just got my marketing degree. How could I go about getting a job for RIZIN? He asks.
Hey, Cathal, that's my job. That's what I wanted. No, go ahead, Hafid.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess especially because we're always looking for new ways to expand internationally, and of course, understandably, that means we have to bring on more international staff. We do have plans to kind of open up official avenues to bring in international talent to work for RIZIN in our international operations. As of now, we don't have that avenue open. But if anything, if you really want to reach out, just find me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message, and I'll set up a meeting with you, and we can chat more.
Oh, and Hafid, I'm just saying, LA is right here for an office. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, of course. One day, you never know. Anything's possible.
Oh, yeah.
So to answer Kathal Kully's Suplex 10's question, the job opportunities right now are strictly for Japanese only. It's not. We have to wait until they expand more internationally before they allow gaijins into the fold, right?
Oh, no, not necessarily. If someone has the right qualifications, if someone has the right energy and vision on how to contribute, then of course, we're always willing to have that conversation.
Oh, nice. Hey, Kathal Kully, you better get your resume in there, because I'm going to send mine here right after this interview.
Okay, well, Kathal Kully, thanks you for answering his question, Hafid.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. And now that we're basically done with the Q&A portion of the program, at least for the time being, we can talk about the fights as they were.
Well, Jay Chris, let's go through the opening ceremony first. We haven't really got. That was one of the best.
Let's talk about the opening ceremony. How the fact that, even though you had Shinobu Kondori in it, you had basically, what am I trying to say? You had Genji Umeno mentioned, and I thought it was just another hyper yo-yo stunt, another Yabaidaro stunt.
Yeah.
I mean, that entire opening ceremony was just basically reminiscent of what Pride FC used to be.
Yeah, it was absolutely epic. It was epic. I had goosebumps like watching that. It was so freaking awesome. And Sakaki Barasan, I had to call him Bar Goat. I mean, he is the greatest of all time. And see him getting up there in the Fundoshi with all the fighters surrounding Jiri Prohaska, Mark Coleman, all these fighters in the Fundoshi banging on the drums, right? It was exhilarating. It was so awesome, bro. Is there any way you could send it in to Sakaki Barasan to do that more often? I mean, I know this was a big tempo show, or at least come out there and do the where he says, fighters, get your asses out here, like Takada used to do. Is there any way that he could be doing that going forward from now on? Because that was, I mean, did you see the comments from people that were saying that they absolutely loved it? They were saying, they call him, the Japanese fans call him a rose. I guess Sakabar is something with rose or something in translations, but they were saying Rose is the GOAT, and this is what other promoter is going to be doing stuff like this. And look at how amazing it looks for his age at 60 something, and just absolutely incredible. And it was reminiscent of Almighty Pride FC. It was one of the best opening ceremonies we've ever seen. And I literally had goosebumps. I'm not even kidding you. I was doing like The Rock right there with goosebumps watching it. It was absolutely epic. So is there any way you can send it in to Sakaki Barasan to do that more often? Or is that something that we just got to wait for the big tentpole shows for?
Yeah, I think Sakaki Barasan, that was something that he made a decision quite late on in terms of how to kind of run the opening ceremony. Everything was put in place, but obviously with Takada graduating from RIZIN and not being responsible for doing the ring call anymore, it was kind of difficult to determine, well, who's the right person to do it. So I guess they deliberated, and Sakaki Barasan said, I'm the promoter, so I should be the one to step up and do it. And yeah, you're right. He looked great. He's 61 now, I think, and he looks better than he did 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's honestly incredible. And yeah, the fans had an amazing reception to that, both within Japan and outside of Japan. I guess Hafid 10 years ago, who just started watching MMA, never thought that he would experience something like that from the ringside. So if you got goosebumps from watching it on your screen thousands of miles away, being ringside, sitting behind Ryan Bader and watching all of that unfold was amazing. And I think even us as the staff, we didn't know every single part of the opening ceremony would go that way. But it was just an amazing experience. And hopefully we can do something like that again this year. Maybe for New Year's. We usually have a big show in July, so maybe we could do that that time as well. But that's obviously going to be up to the big boss, the big man upstairs. So yeah,
the Bar Goat. All-time announcer. I mean, that was. I mean, yeah, especially if you do it for Super RIZIN New Year's Eve, that'd be good. That'd be good enough. I mean, it was just fantastic. I mean, we've been missing that for the last several years of RIZIN. Ever since, like you said, Takada graduated, and it was missing, and just. I mean, we didn't know if it was because it was, the production cost too much money or whatever. We didn't know what was going on. So it was just, I can't tell you, it was so great to see. And I don't know if you saw Michael Chiavello tweeted out saying that he actually saw people in the audience weeping with joy at how much, that's how ecstatic they were about this opening ceremony. So, I mean, I think Bar Goat should definitely do it again, or at least do the ring call out like Takada did, even if he's just be in a suit, for the non-tentpole events. I mean, it was just, and also I love how you guys had the pyrotechnics were going. It was so freaking awesome. So I just want to thank you guys for that, and if you could please send it in to thank Sakaki Barasan, Bar Goat, the Rose Goat himself for that. I mean, it was just absolute epic. Put the epic into the epic RIZIN Fighting Federation, in my opinion. It was absolutely sensational.
And I mean, to think of it, I can go ahead and say this. Well, actually, let me go ahead and highlight Degenerate Dane's comment. Better than Hank the Casuals. Hey, appreciate it. But in a way, and Cathal Cully just sent in his invitation via LinkedIn, so you'll be getting his message momentarily, Hafid. But cool. Still, when it comes down to that intro, that complete experience that was the opening ceremony, especially, for the opening banging of the taiko drums and all of that. I equate Nobuyuki Sakakibara's presence because once upon a time, I equated him to the father from the anime Tenchi Muyo because they look so similar and they have similar names. But still, though, I equate Nobuyuki Sakakibara as like a real life anime character. Like, he really just brings the type of passion and the type of energy that a lot of fight fans, especially those who follow JMMA like us, would want from a CEO. Not like, as good old JayWolf likes to say, Dingleberry Dana or Donnie Fumbles.
Hey, but if it's true that Hafid just said that PFL are sending some representatives out here, that's what Sakakibara-san said in the interview. I mean, and there's a chance that the collaboration could be reignited. I mean, if that happens, it's not going to be PF Fumble anymore. It's gonna be PF. Let's freaking go is what I mean. That's awesome. So and then it'll go from dummy Don Davis to the Don Davis. All ill will be erased if he returns to collaboration with the epic RIZIN Fighting Federation. So that's all we really wanted to see, anyways, from them. I mean, so that's I just want to put that out there. So message to the PFL people: restart the collaboration when you guys go out there again. All right, please. It would just be epic. So,
but still, though, aside from that, the intro was incredible. But the main event and the co-main event, which we're going to talk about first, really set the excitement level to a fever pitch. I mean, especially the co-main event, but we're going to talk about the main event first. I mean, seriously, Razabali Shardulayev is a monster. 13-0, all finishes. Most of them coming in the first round. He's just an unstoppable tank from Kyrgyzstan who just ran through Kleber Koike Earps like it was nothing. Even though this was Kleber's first defense of his second reign as featherweight champion. But still, though, the fight ended in 1 minute, 2 seconds, 62 seconds of round number 1 via knockout. And to be honest, if I was sworn that the fight wasn't going to last that long, I would have probably set my damn timer after both fighters made their way into the ring when the anthems were sung and played, just to see how long this would truly last. But still, though, Shardulayev is a monster. But now the question comes, 2 questions come after that. How long do you think it'll be before Shardulayev makes his first defense? Because they're going to be talk about him going to the UFC and all of that.
No. Remember, Jay Chris, you didn't see Sakakibara-san already shut that down. He said that no, Shardulayev is under contract and he's going to at least defend the title a couple times. He's not going to the UFC. That was so fantastic to see, Hafid. Could you also please thank Sakakibara-san for that as well? I mean, that was just it was so reassuring because there was, like Jay Chris was saying, there was people online that were posting pics of Shardulayev in UFC gear and UFC gloves and all sorts of crap. And it just, I mean, you saw the reaction from me on the RIZIN Discord. I was like, no, dude, I don't want them to poach this guy already after such a sensational performance. So, just Jay Chris, just want to make sure you saw that Sakakibara-san, Barago, did put that out there that he's not going to be poached.
Okay, I get it, Jay. But still, though, the 2 questions I want to ask is how soon do you think Razabali Shardulayev will have his first title defense? And when is the best time for Kleber Koike to bounce back? Because if y'all remember, he did fight on New Year's Eve. He beat Chihiro Suzuki in the first clarified rounds of 2025. And this was his first fight in a little over 4 months. But do you think that now he's going to have more rest time to recuperate from this ass whooping he took?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a really interesting situation right now with the featherweight division. Obviously, back in March at RIZIN 50, Doubtbeck beat Chihiro, and that was supposed to determine the next top contender.
Mhm.
Doubtbeck and Shade Alive are like brothers. You know, they fought when Shade Alive made his debut last June. Doubtbeck also fought on that event. They also both together fought on the September event, RIZIN 48, where Souza beat Gustavo and Inoue won the belt. So they've shared the backstage together a couple of times now, and there's footage on the Confession series. You can see them, you know, hugging it out, talking to each other, showing a lot of respect. Doubtbeck said in an interview leading up to Otoko Matsuri that if Shade Alive wins, you know, he's going to have to consider going down to bantamweight because they're simply not going to fight each other. They're brothers. And Shade Alive also in the post-fight press conference said, you know, I don't want to fight Doubtbeck. He's like a brother to me. If the fight, you know, is forced to be made, he'll fight, but it's not something that he wants to do. So as far as Shade Alive's first title defense, you know, he just won the belt, I think, in the fastest title fight ever in RIZIN history. I think the fastest one before this was when Claire Lopez fought Seika Izawa, and Izawa finished the fight with a choke. So Shade Alive, I would imagine, didn't take any injuries. Kleber also, I would imagine, didn't take any injuries in the fight. He got up and a couple minutes after the fight was stopped, he was already protesting with the referee saying you stopped it too fast. So I think both of them are ready to go. Kleber said in the post-fight interview he wants to do a rematch right away for the belt. He doesn't want to fight anybody else. He wants to fight Shade Alive. I think even though the finish, maybe people have their different opinions on it, I would have liked to see Kleber try to handle that situation, the knockdown, a little bit further. So I think there are some fans who want to see that. Maybe there's some fans who believe Shade Alive should fight someone else. But either way, I think they're both ready to go as soon as possible. Like I said, RIZIN traditionally, over the last few years, we've done a big show in July. We've done a big show in September. And obviously, we do a big show in December every year. So me personally, what I would like to see, both of them fight in July if we do a big event at that time.
So you're
and you said that. Oh, go ahead, Jay Chris. Go ahead.
So you're saying that if there is a chance, Shade Alive's first title defense will possibly be in a rematch against Kleber Koike at, let's just say, Super RIZIN 4?
I'm not saying that that's some sort of, discussions that are happening in the matchmaking room. I'm just saying that I think that's something that is very, very likely.
Understood.
Right. And the featherweight division is one of the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation's premier divisions. And, there's a lot of guys that are coming up. And I was thinking, Landmark 11 here coming up June 14th in Sapporo. That's going to have Kolesnik. Victor Kolesnik is fighting on that. That's a guy that dropped down from lightweight to 155 pounds to 145 pounds of featherweight. And he's looked really good. And I was thinking, that could, right there, that could be another title contender right there in the waiting. If we got to see what his performance is like. That's another reason to tune in on June 14th to RIZIN Landmark 11 in Sapporo, because Kolesnik, that could be another title contender right there, emerges. So, but you're saying that the rematch is pretty much already, like, with Kleber is probably the one that's going to be happening instead.
It seems like it's the fight that some fans want to see. It seems like Kleber wants to make that fight happen. I'm sure Shade Alive is open to doing a rematch. But we can't forget, at that same event in Sapporo on June 14th, there's another big featherweight fight that is kind of hard to overlook. Shuya Kimura is making a big step up against former champion Vugar Karamov. And, if Vugar wins, he has a very strong claim to the title. If Shuya Kimura wins, why not throw him in the title mix? He's won all 5 of his fights by KO in a combined 5 minutes or so. If he goes out there and shocks Karamov in similar fashion, who's to say he doesn't deserve a title shot? Who else in the division can say they have a win as impressive as that at this point?
100%. I was actually going to bring that up next, is about, because I was talking about RIZIN Landmark 11 on June 14th in Sapporo. Get it on RIZIN.tv. Get it early as soon as it comes available. But you're right. Vugar Karamov, former champion, is going to be headlining that event, and with the win, hey, right there. So you got Doubtbeck, who Hafid just said, even though they don't want to fight, they would prefer not to fight because they're brothers and training partners, all that good stuff. But they will if it comes to that. So there's one guy right there. And on RIZIN Landmark 11 on June 14th in Sapporo, there's two guys that there's Vugar and also Kolesnik. Both those bouts right there could be another contender emerging. So like I was saying, man, the featherweight division is one of their premier divisions. So there's a lot of guys for Shaddai to fight. So I'm just so happy that Sakakibara-san came out there and threw water on the the poaching fire, or however you want to put it. That saying no, this guy he's not. UFC is not going to be Dingleberry Dana is not going to poach this guy. He's going to have a couple title defenses first before he can go to the UFC or anything. So, I can't thank Sakakibara-san enough for that, because I was really worried about that. So it's just great. And I personally, I would not want to. I don't really want to see him waste a title defense rematching Kleber. But I mean, I would rather wait to see what happens with Vugar and Kolesnik, or just make him fight Doubtbeck, and then, because look, Kleber, dude, he got knocked out in like seconds, and it just, who's to say that the second fight wouldn't go the same way? I don't know. I just don't think that a rematch immediate. Unless you definitely got shot alive locked up for like 3 or 4. Is there a champions clause? Have you guys started, implement a champions clause yet?
So I'm not privy to the information usually on contracts, but I would imagine that's quite typical with most promotions. Once you win the belt, your contract changes. So I can't, on the record officially say, yes, I know for a fact Shade Aliyev is locked in for X amount of fights. But that is typical in this industry. So I would imagine there is some sort of activation there. Okay,
fantastic. And also speaking of this, Jay Chris, real quick, just let me ask this question about, because we're talking about title fights and contract situations and stuff.
Go ahead.
There's a thing that we've been talking about a lot in Discord, on Twitter and stuff, about the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation's title fights being only 3 rounds. Is that something because of the contract situation, or is there a way to make it to where in the future we could have those title fights be 5 rounds, or have them be a 10-minute first round and then follow up with 5-minute rounds? Is that any way possible? We saw with the last man standing belt, that was supposed to be unlimited rounds, right? So that got us thinking in the Discord on Twitter and stuff, saying, hey, this is freaking awesome. Could this be? Could we see in the future RIZIN title fights becoming 5 rounds or 10-minute first rounds? For special title bouts. Is that possible, or is a contract situation a barrier to that?
So I don't believe. This is just my inclination. I'm not led to believe that there's like a contract barrier affecting the duration or rounds of fights. From what I understand, is that we believe that 5 rounds it's not necessary to put on an exciting fight. Oftentimes what you see in 5-round fights are lower output because guys want to make sure they have energy later on in the fight. So we believe that 3 rounds of 5 minutes is enough to put on an entertaining fight. It's enough for fighters to actually, from the opening bell to the last bell, give it all they have. So that's kind of the concept we have here at RIZIN. We want to make sure that we're creating an environment for the most exciting fights possible. Me personally, what I would like to see is a reintroduction of those 10-minute first rounds, just because you see a lot more finishes, you see a lot more action. If a fighter gets on the ground, they have a lot more time to work. There's just a lot more possibilities when you have a 10-minute opening round. Plus, that's what was done back in the day in JMMA. So I think it's a nice way to continue the tradition, and it's going to guarantee a lot more finishes. Even RIZIN did that in the first couple of years of our promotion. We did 10-minute opening rounds. So I think it's something that I would like to see personally reintroduced. But to answer your question about contracts specifically being a barrier, I don't believe that's the case.
Excellent. So, well, then, could you please send it in to Sakakibara-san, Shingo-san, that the fans would definitely love to see the title bouts be 10-minute first rounds, or to reintroduce 10-minute first rounds for title bouts, because we just would like something to be, to differentiate them from regular fights. Is what I was seeing most often in the comments talking about the title fights, and that's why they're wanting 5 minute, 5 rounds, because they want it more more rounds of the fights. They wanted more of the fight, basically, So, but no, I 100% agree with you. The 10-minute first round should be brought back, especially just for title fights, if not all the fights. I mean, because it's freaking awesome. Like I said, Almighty Pride FC nostalgia, just it's so great. So, thank you for that, and please send it in to Sakakibara-san and Shingo-san that yes, the fans are totally in agreement with you. We would love to see the 10-minute first round come back, and especially for title fights to differentiate them. That'd be awesome.
And by the way, RIZIN will die. Well, actually, RIZIN won't die in this case.
Yeah, it's RIZIN will thrive, buddy. Come on, change your name already.
Sent a question that I'm pretty sure we've already touched up upon. Basically, previous champions like Kai Asakura didn't have to defend their titles before being poached to the UFC. I think we pretty much already asked about Shaydulaev's Champions Clause. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and say that Shaydulaev is, like I said in the lead up to all these questions, Shaydulaev is a monster and is going to, if there is a rematch between him and Kleber happening, I, for one, can't wait to see it.
I did want to throw in another name at featherweight that I think hopefully we can see in the title picture by the end of the year. There's this teenager named Kyoma Akimoto. He was he had a title eliminator against Yuki Motoya on New Year's Eve. He's a very, very exciting talent. He's good on the ground, good in the stand-up, very, very fast hands, can fight at both bantamweight and featherweight. He just fought Ryo Takagi in the fight before the co-main event, and he put on a very, very entertaining fight against a very, very tough opponent.
And you know what? Let's go ahead and, break from tradition a bit, and let's talk about the Akimoto versus Takagi fight. Akimoto improves now to 8-1. Takagi now drops to 8-3. But still, though, when it came down to this fight, fans were really thinking of Akimoto as the overwhelming or the slight favorite going into this fight. Especially considering the fact that Akimoto had the age advantage going for him. Well, not really age, youth more than anything. But Akimoto came in, had a game plan, worked it to a T, and pretty much dominated Takagi through most of the fight.
Yeah, Akimoto, he's 19 years old, I think. He has dreams to become a RIZIN champion as a teenager. So That means I think he was born in March. That means he has until March of next year to become a champion at either bantamweight or featherweight, which, depending on how the cards fall, is pretty likely. Depending on who he has to fight, I could definitely see him, holding one of those belts by March of next year. Obviously, it's going to depend on the results of upcoming fights near the top of both divisions. But I've heard about this kid even a year ago, before he made his RIZIN debut. Ellie, who was Kai Sakura's coach up until quite recently, he was telling me about this kid. He said, this kid, he's only 18 years old and he fights like he's a veteran. He fights like he's over 30. The vision he has in his fights, his style, his strategy, his IQ, everything about him spells veteran, even though he's a teenager. So I personally am very excited, and I think the Japanese fans would be very, very excited to see such a young superstar just achieving so much early on in his career.
And I call him the RIZIN Prince Akimoto. I was so impressed by his debut. He, like you said, he looked like a veteran in there. Had such great command of the ring, and my favorite part is he knew the assignment and scored some superior rule set finish in his debut with some grounded knees and stuff. So the sky's the limit for that kid. So that's great to hear. And it goes to show you guys, featherweight division was probably one of the premier division in the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation. There are so many good contenders and great fighters in that division. So it's really exciting time right now. And I wonder, what do you think Prince Akimoto's path would be? Do you think maybe match him up with one of the winners on RIZIN Landmark 11 maybe, or maybe throw him in there with Doubtbeck or something, since maybe Doubtbeck doesn't want to fight Shaydulaev unless forced to? Do you think that would be kind of an option, maybe like title eliminator like that? Or I don't want to put you in get ahead of Shingo-san here, but just throwing out ideas for you.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question. So Akimoto in his debut beat Kintaro, who's been a staple in RIZIN's bantamweight division, fought in the bantamweight Grand Prix, and Akimoto finished him, I believe, in the first round, if not early in the second round. In his next fight, he fought Hiroaki Suzuki, who is, he's Kleber Koike and Souza's striking coach, and he's a part of the Bonsai gym. So he has already a bit of a history with Bonsai. Now he just fought Takagi Ryo, who is Suzuki's teammate, the former champion who just fought against Mikuru. I actually think a fight against Chihiro would make a lot of sense. Chihiro, he's on a bit of a losing streak right now. Even though they were very, very exciting fights, he's just removed as a champion. By no means out of his prime. He just needs a bit more time to rest and get a fresh matchup. And then Kyoma, on the other hand, he just put out an amazing showing. 2 fights at featherweight. He fought Suzuki Hiroaki at featherweight, and then he fought Takagi Ryo at featherweight. I think Kyoma versus Suzuki would be an amazing fight. Both guys are very well rounded. Both guys can stop the takedown. Both guys can work on the ground. Both guys obviously have power in their hands. They're very fast. So I think, me personally, if I were to put on the matchmaker hat for a day, that's a fight that I think makes a lot of sense. And I think it's a fight that Suzuki would be motivated to take. I think Akimoto obviously would be very motivated to take that fight, facing a former champion. He's been gradually, taking these steps up in competition. So I think that's, if me personally, if I could throw a name in the hat, that's the matchup I'd like to see.
Nice, and that'd be a nice matchup between 2 young guns, because Prince Akimoto is not even 20 years old yet, and Chihiro Suzuki is barely 25. Is he even 25 yet? I think he's like 24 going on. Anyways, they're both young guns, so that'd be a fantastic battle. My only problem with that is that Chihiro is on a little skid right now, and while Prince Akimoto is on a 2-fight win streak. So I just don't like matching up guys on a skid versus guys on a win streak. I believe in MMA momentum, and I think that's a real thing. But I mean, hey, it would be a banger fight between 2 young guns, so I'm not going to say no to it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it just goes to show you how many great fights there are in the featherweight division, which, I'm going to go on a limb and say that it is the premier division in the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation right now, especially after Shadalayev just won the title. And there's so much excitement around it right now. It's just an incredible energy, and just so many contenders, and just, man, that's another reason why everybody, you guys, check out RIZIN Landmark 11, June 14th in Sapporo. There's going to be 2 contenders on that fight, on that card, on RIZIN.tv. Order as soon as possible. I mean, it's going to be sensational. So I can't wait for that. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for Prince Akimoto and Chihiro Suzuki. I mean, if he's not going to go fight in knockout, and go back to his comfort zone of kickboxing, then that would be a banger fight. But it just worries me about the momentum factor. And does you're saying that Chihiro is going to be sitting out for a little bit? Would Prince Akimoto want to sit out for that long to wait for Chihiro to come back, or do you think they should just throw him right back in there against, like, one of the 2 winners of the RIZIN Landmark 11?
That's a really interesting question. So he fought in September, he fought in December, and then he just fought in May. So I think, based on his activity pattern in RIZIN, he's shown a willingness to fight, on a 2-month turnaround, but he's also willing to take the time for the right matchup. So a fighter like Akimoto, I think he's built for the big stage. He's built for the big events. He made his debut at a RIZIN number series at the Saitama Super Arena, in front of 25,000 people. So I think he personally would probably want to make a turnaround in one of the bigger shows. But obviously that's a decision that's up to him. Maybe he picked up some knocks in the fight, and maybe he wants to take a little bit more time. Either way, I think when he does come back, he'll have a very, very fun matchup.
Absolutely, 100%. And speaking of Chihiro, let's get to the people's main event of this card. What do you say, Jay Krish?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the co-main event of this fight card now that we actually have some time to talk about it. Mikuru Asakura defeated Chihiro Suzuki in probably one of the better fights of 2025 so far. And Michael Schiavello really coined it well, that it was one of the better fights we'll see this year. And Cathal Coley just wanted to give a shout out saying that Chiavello has been truly amazing. That I can agree with. But still, though, Chihiro Suzuki, fresh off of losing not only to Kleber Koike, but also losing to Karshiga Doubtbeck, loses his third consecutive fight, albeit not in a way that he would expect to lose, against Mikuru Asakura via doctor stoppage, 1 minute 56 seconds of round number 3. Now, we already basically discussed about Chihiro going back to kickboxing, and by the way, shout out to Combat Sports Today for asking why not Chihiro and kickboxing for RIZIN. I think that would be a bit of a problem because of his Rise kickboxing contract and him being a champion over there. But hey,
knockout kickboxing.
Okay, knockout kickboxing. Still, though, point of the matter is, I don't see no problem with that. But the thing we have to ask about now is, with this win, what's next for Mikuru Asakura? Is it going to be a fight against Ren Hiromoto that was supposed to have been scheduled for this event? Or do you think that we'll eventually see him fight somebody else in the build-up to the potential Ren Hiromoto? Okay. Since you want to add your 2 cents, JayWolf, why don't you answer first?
Oh, I mean, dude, I cannot wait. First of all, shout out to Combat Sports Today News. Thank you, brothers, for watching and listening and the great comments and just absolute sensational. To me, I think they're the best. I'm gonna call them mainstream. They're the best mainstream outlet out there, mainstream media outlet out there for mixed martial arts. Everybody go follow them on Twitter, Instagram, all that. They just do a fantastic job. And I always like to point back to, since we're talking about Chihiro Suzuki, they were the only ones that asked about the I like to call it the rematch with Patricio Pitbull versus Chihiro Suzuki. They were the only ones that asked about that, and they frequently are the only ones that will tweet about and put out graphics and everything about the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation. All these other mainstream media, they just do, UFC and every once in a while like a PFL or one champ or something. And just, I mean, Combat Sports Today News, second to none. You guys are the best. And just salute to you guys. So just want to put that out there. And then for this bout with Mikuru and Chihiro, I mean, Mikuru just looks sensational. And, Suzuki looked like he got ran over by a truck afterward. You see dude, his eye was closed and everything. It was bleeding all over the place. So, I just don't see him getting back to what we were talking about earlier about, facing Akimoto. I think Chihiro's going to have to sit out for a while. And I don't think Prince Akimoto is going to want to wait that long for Chihiro to come back, even though that would be maybe in the future, Prince Akimoto fights another guy, and then maybe, when Chihiro comes back, they could match them up. That'd be a banger as well. So that'd be great. But in this bout, Mikuru just looks sensational. I mean, he was getting takedowns, doing some ground and pound. Just he looked fantastic. And to answer Jay Christian's question about what's next for him, also on this card, Kyoji Hagiwara looks absolutely sensational as well, scoring a fantastic knockout. Probably arguably one of the best knockouts of the night. And he's always, beefing, going back and forth. Very popular fighter as well, rising star as well. And with Mikuru, I believe that would sell very well. So, I mean, and since Hagiwara really didn't take any damage, if Mikuru is up for it, I mean, maybe that could be a quick turnaround to fight in Super RIZIN 4 coming. Is that coming in July or August? Is it? Can you confirm for us, Hafid, if Super RIZIN 4 is going to be in July or August?
I cannot confirm nor deny the name of the event, but traditionally, RIZIN, we do a big event in July and a big event in September. Those are our Saitama shows, as well as December. So stay tuned for an announcement, but that is usually a date that we have. So
okay, yeah. I don't want to press too much and have you get ahead of the big bosses over there, RIZIN Fighting Federation. So Hey, Jay Chris, what was Combat Sports Today's question again? I forgot it. I got sidetracked.
Asked why not Chihiro for kickboxing?
Oh yeah, that I love that idea, but I believe I can answer for Hafid here is because, like we were saying, the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation is they collaborate with K1, King K1, as I like to call him, and Rise. But do they have a collaboration going with Knockout, Hafid?
I mean, given that Suzuki is their champion, I personally can't recall any fighters, knockout fighters besides Suzuki coming into RIZIN to compete. I guess I can't really have any official comment on that. I'm not familiar.
But what do you think about Combat Sports Today's news' idea of having Chihiro defend his knockout title in the Epic RIZIN ring? And also, I want to point out that Knockout, that promotion, they have a new rule set, basically, what called Knockout Unlimited, where they allow grounded strikes, allow superior rule set strikes, grounded kicks and stomps and stuff like that. So, I mean, I could definitely see there a great collaboration there. I mean, maybe, is that something you could see happening in the future? To answer Combat Sports Today News' question, could Chihiro potentially defend his knockout title in the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation?
Yeah, there's a couple things to consider. I mean, I would imagine if Knockout, that's their biggest star, that's their biggest name, as far as I can recall. So if they were going to have him defend his title, I would imagine they would want him to do it at one of their events so they can sell as many tickets and merchandise as they can. On the other hand, there have been kickboxing titles defended in RIZIN. I remember when Tenshin was fighting, he defended like an ISKA title against some Argentinian guy, some Italian guy, I think.
I think it was an Argentinian guy named Martin Blanco.
Martin Blanco, that's right. Yeah, that was maybe like 2019, I think. So the possibility is there. I think it would just depend on Knockout's willingness to have him, defend his title in RIZIN. Obviously, a bigger platform with more reach, but if their profitability is coming from someone like Suzuki, who, as far as I know, is their biggest star, they might want to have him do it at one of their events. So I guess the long and short of it is it's possible. It just depends on if both promotions are willing to make that agreement.
Nice, great answer.
And
I mean, hopefully that satisfies Combat Sports Today News. And thank you guys, thank you fam for that fantastic comment and question, and thank you for listening as well. And just getting back to this people's main event here that we're talking about, which is Mikuro Asakura defeating Chihiro Suzuki in a sensational performance. I mean, it was legit stoppage. It wasn't like, that cut was massive. It was like a Grand Canyon cut over his eye. It wasn't like a little tiny cut that was. It was a legit cut stoppage. Usually I have a gripe with the Japanese where they see a little cut and they stop it, or like a broken nose and they'll guy bleeding out his nose and they'll stop it, and we just can't stand that. That's why we're so thankful when y'all started collaborating with the bare knuckle fighting championship, because there's blood all the time in those fights. So to us that was like getting the Japanese and the Japanese audience like I don't want to say manned up or just used to seeing blood and allowing that to keep going. So, but this one right here with Chihiro Suzuki, it was a very bad cut above his eye, and you can see in the post-fight pics. It looked like he got ran over by a truck. Mikuro got him fair and square, so it was just sensational to see, and the crowd went absolutely wild for him. So he's really a legit superstar in Japan. So, and that'd be fantastic if he would come back on the Super RIZIN event either in July or September. I'm guessing it's going to be in July, and you don't have to confirm or deny that, Hafid. I'm just going to guess that, and because we're also speculating in the RIZIN Discord on Twitter and everything, is that part of the Super RIZIN 4 event is coming up. We're guessing that's going to be when the Flyweight Grand Prix finally kicks off. And there were several fighters on this card that we'll get to.
Come to think of it, we can talk about the Flyweight Grand Prix later, but
okay, all right.
mean about the flyweight division. We can talk about that down the line, but
Okay, but let's finish with Mikuru. Jay Krish, who did you want to see Mikuru face at Super RIZIN 4?
I mean, to be honest, if it's not Ren Hiramoto, then I damn sure wouldn't want to see somebody with an undefeated record like, let's just say, Aliyabek Gamzatov out of Kyrgyzstan, or actually out of out of Turkey by way of Russia, fight him. And of course, Cathal Coley said that Gamzatov has future champion written all over him. When will we see him again? I mean, if anything, it's hopefully soon. But I mean, I can't really answer that. Only Habib knows, and only RIZIN knows. But still, though, the point of the matter is, I wouldn't want to put Asakura up in a tune-up match against somebody that knows he got nothing to lose. I mean, it's like we basically will go over with the upcoming excuse me. But still, though, when it comes down to Mikuru Asakura in a tune-up match at Super RIZIN, possibly 4, I mean, I would not want to see him face off against Kyohei Hagiwara again. And, of course, Kyohei just came off a first-round knockout finish over the now 6-9 Taisei Nishitani. Hagiwara is now 9-10. But still, though, I just don't think that a fight between Hagiwara and Asakura would be worth watching unless, of course, it's just going to lead to them two facing off against Ren Hiramoto, the winner of that fight versus Ren Hiramoto.
Well, Ren Hiramoto is still injured. Hafid, do you have any information on Ren Hiramoto's timeline for return? Is it even possible for him to be on Super RIZIN 4 in July?
Yeah, I believe the injury he sustained has like a 9-month recovery period. So if he does come back, I would imagine it's on New Year's Eve.
Okay, yeah. that makes a lot of sense. So, but Jay Krish, you don't think Hagiwara and Mikuru would be? I mean, that to me that was because Hagiwara is very popular in Japan. I think that would sell like hotcakes in Japan.
Yeah, but the first time they fought was back in 2021. I mean, I know the Japanese love the storylines, but this storyline probably wouldn't go over so well, especially considering the fact.
I have to disagree on that one. I think it'd sell like hotcakes, especially with Hagiwara scoring a sensational KO here on Otoko Matsuri that just happened at the Tokyo Dome in front of 40,000 fans. I mean, did you hear them erupt for him when he scored that knockout?
Yeah,
he's a very popular guy, even though he's not even got a 500 record. So,
I mean, come think of it, Michael Schiavello did say on, I mean, I don't know. I think it was either Michael Schiavello or most definitely Ensign Inoue on the Yamato Damashi podcast. It was like the damn roof caved in with that ovation.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Since let's just talk about that fight right now. It was Hagiwara and Nishitani, and Hagiwara knocked him out in seconds, and first round knockout, absolutely sensational. Had the crowd going wild for him. Like you said, Schiavello just he was
actually
the big kibosh. Good night, Ari, the big kibosh. I mean, it was, as the crowd was going crazy. It was sensational. It was one of the best moments of the night.
To the time of the stoppage, Jay, it was 3 minutes 36 seconds of round number 1, but it felt like seconds to a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay, well, whatever. First round stoppage. It was sensational when it happened, and the crowd went wild for him, and he really didn't take any damage in that fight. So to me, I think that would be that could sell big very well, especially for the Japanese fans in Super RIZIN 4 versus Mikuru. If Mikuru was up to having that quick turnaround, and that's a very winnable fight for Mikuru, to where like Hafid was just saying, Ren Hiramoto, he had to sustain a 9-month injury, and that's Ren Hiramoto's not going to be coming back until New Year's Eve. That's when they do Mikuru versus Ren Hiramoto. It's going to be on New Year's Eve. Pretty much, I bet you anything. So that would just, I think Hagiwara, the sensational performance put on at Otoko Matsuri, I think that'd be a perfect one. But hey, it's whatever happens. But I was so pleased with that because, I mean, Hagiwara, I've always liked him, and I just love how he's a fan favorite over there, and his stars rise. And Now he's just, he's one fight away from 500. So I think it'd be a great fight. But what do you think about that one, Jake Rich?
Do you really think that a fight between Hagiwara and Asakura, which would be a tune-up fight for Asakura to possibly face Ren Hiramoto at the end of the year, do you think that fight would actually sell well?
Oh, yeah. Hafid, come on, back me up. You think that fight would sell well?
I'm so glad you tagged me in here because I wanted to give my opinions on a couple of things you guys mentioned. Just to I want to thread all of these narratives together because we're talking about a lot of our RIZIN's biggest stars. Mm-hmm. So firstly, with the Mikuru Suzuki fight, I just want to say the reaction that the crowd gave when Mikuru got a takedown, you would think he landed a knockdown. That's how crazy the fans were going. The only thing I can compare it to is like when Khabib was fighting in Abu Dhabi and when he fought like Dustin Poirier before COVID. Anytime he got a takedown, you could barely hear the commentary. Like that's how loud the fans were getting. Originally, Mikuru was supposed to fight Ren, so they were selling these kind of supporter seats. So like from where I was sitting ringside, on the left side, you could hear all of the Mikuru fans. And on the right side, you could hear like a smaller group of Chihiro fans. And anytime Mikuru got a takedown, like you had to cover your ears how loud it was getting. So the reaction that the fans gave to Mikuru on his comeback fight was just unbelievable. Secondly, the ending of the fight. This is RIZIN Otoko Matsuri, right? So you're supposed to show your masculinity, your manliness. I think this fight ending in a doctor stoppage didn't really allow us to see the ending we would like to see. Obviously, the fans were happy. Obviously, it's a good result for Mikuru. He put on a great performance. He put on a great fight. But it's kind of reminds me of the Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal situation with the BMF belt. It's like if you're giving someone the BMF belt, it shouldn't be a doctor stoppage. It should be a legitimate end to the fight. So I just wanted to kind of touch on those. You guys are asking about who Mikuru's next opponent should be. If he fights Kyohei Hagiwara, and originally the plan was Mikuru to fight Ren, right, in a rematch. If he fights Kyohei, the winner of that fight could still go on to fight Ren and have a history with Ren. If you remember correctly, Ren's MMA debut was against Kyohei. So I think, and Mikuru versus Ren, I have to disagree with you, Jay. This is potentially one of the biggest fights you can make in RIZIN right now. Mikuru is obviously the biggest star. Hagiwara is not far behind him. He's maybe top 5 biggest stars in RIZIN right now, the pop that he gets. They had a fight a couple of years ago. It would be an interesting match between the two. And even if Hagiwara doesn't get the Mikuru fight, he could rematch Suzuki as well, Chihiro. He could rematch him as well because they fought a couple of years ago. Chihiro won that fight. And, Chihiro needs an opponent that maybe could be perceived as a bit of a step down. I don't want to go that far. Hagiwara has had a lot of time to develop his ground game. He's on a really impressive win streak right now, 2 wins back-to-back in the space of 5 weeks, 30-second KO and a 3-minute 30-second KO. So there's a lot of interesting matchups to make between these two. And I'm just so excited to talk about this division. It's on fire right now.
I mean, come to think of it, we're just as excited because of the fact that, like you said, Hafid, even though Hagiwara is nearing 500 record-wise, you can throw the records out the window, as the old saying goes, because he's one of those stars that could be on the rise in RIZIN, pardon the pun. But
yeah, the matches you can make right now at featherweight, there's so many matches you can make where no one loses. Like imagine Akimoto versus Hagiwara. No one's going to lose in that fight. No one's going to lose any star power. It's just going to build up both fighters. If they put on an exciting scrap, it's going to build up both fighters. Another guy I want to throw into this mix, and I don't want to derail the conversation too much, is Yaman. Like you could throw in Yaman against any of these guys who lost a fight, and that's going to be a big fight. Fans are going to want to tune in. They're going to want to buy the pay-per-view. They're going to want to be there in person. And win or lose, it's going to be a fun fight. And if Yaman wins, he's right back in the picture for another big fight. If Yaman loses, everyone doesn't care if Yaman loses a fight. He usually puts on an exciting performance. So there's just, I'm so glad that we're talking about featherweights right now. I get so excited.
Oh, it's one of your guys' premier divisions, if not the premier division in the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation right now. And you talk about Yaman and Mikuru. I mean, I can't believe I forgot to bring that up because they have a history together as well. If you remember, Yaman knocked out Mikuru in open finger glove kickboxing. It was on a Rise show, I think it was. So there's history there. I mean, there is a lot of options for that Super RIZIN 4 event. And, and then of course we got Ren Hiramoto waiting on for New Year's Eve. I mean, and also I want to ask you one more thing about that. Since Ren Hiramoto is the current last man standing champ. Could that potentially be on New Year's Eve? Could that potentially be a last man standing championship rematch with Mikuru if he makes it to there?
I mean, I would have to imagine, since the company went out of the way to make that type of belt and put on that rule set, that they would have to put the rematch under the same circumstances. I would imagine that has to be the case. I think the fans would love to see that. I think the fighters would both be really excited to see that. So I think it makes sense. Obviously, it's up in the air. It's yet to be determined. It's a long way until New Year's Eve. We got 7 months. We got a few events in between. So anything could happen. But definitely, I think Ren holding that belt, whoever he fights on New Year's Eve, if he does fight on New Year's Eve, it would make sense for it to be under that rule set.
Fantastic. That is absolute music to my ears. And just please send it in to Sakakibara-san. Please, yes, go ahead with that. And his plan to make an unlimited rule, unlimited time limit, unlimited rounds, all that. We absolutely love it. So that's just fantastic to hear. So
yeah, I just want to remind all the viewers, I'm not the decision maker. I'm going to throw my hands up. I'm not the one that that calls the shot, but it's just, something that having my pulse on the fan base and seeing what they want to, hearing what they want to see. I think I agree with them. Understood,
Hafid, but before we even talk about the rest of the card, not to sweep this man under the brush. Not to sweep this man under the bus, but what about Taisei Nishitani? What's next for him after now going down to 6-9? Is there anything remotely relevant in his future ahead?
It's really tough because he's had 3 fights in RIZIN now. All 3 fights were knockout losses.
Okay.
But to be fair, he has been fighting, tough guys. He's not fighting, layups. He's fighting tough guys. I think what he's going to probably do, this is just me speculating. Once again, I'm not a matchmaker. What he's probably going to do is probably have maybe a fight in deep, fight in breaking down, try to build up some momentum, try to build up some more confidence. Actually, he took the loss pretty well. If you saw the backstage footage, him and Hagiwara were walking backstage together, and he was kind of laughing at himself. He's like, well, at least I made it an exciting fight. I can't believe I lost again by knockout. It's funny. If you listen to the guide to Otoko Matsuri that Shingo did, we posted it on our socials. He said he described Taisei Nishitani perfectly. He's a grappler who cannot help but get into brawls. He always gets into brawls. He always wants to stand and throw, even though he's a grappler. He has the ability to hold guys down. So honestly, respect to Taisei for always putting on a show for the fans. But as far as his next steps, it's probably going to have to be deep or breaking down, getting some wins, getting some momentum, and building some confidence up.
That makes perfect sense. Or may throw him on like a landmark card. How Sakakibara-san likes to, throw veterans versus young guns or veterans trying to get back in the win column on those. Just an idea out there, but I like your plan better. Send them back down to deep, get a couple more wins back before coming back. So.
Now, considering the fact that we talked about the featherweights enough, you got to outweigh the good with the bad. And let me just go ahead and just say this outright about the RIZIN Heavyweight Grand Prix. Aside from the one good fight, Mikio Ueda knocking out Shoma Shibisai in 63 seconds, you got to outweigh the bad. And that was Jose Augusto beating Tsuyoshi Sudario via unanimous decision in what many thought was probably a boring fight. And the ultra boring fight between Marek Samochiyuk versus the American Predator Daniel James out of Chicago. That ended in a unanimous decision win for Marek, but Daniel already put himself behind the 8 ball for missing weight by a little over a pound, or about 8 grams. But still, though, point of the matter is, between the Heavyweight Grand Prix and the Koji versus Sheena Karimian fight that happened, I wouldn't even call it a fight. It was definitely a boxing exhibition. But between these 4 fights, Ueda versus Shibisai, Augusto versus Sudario, Samochiyuk, James, and Koji Tanaka versus Sheena Karimian, Which one do you think was the most disappointing? I mean, obviously that disqualifies Ueda versus Shibisai, but which one was the most disappointing of the four?
I think what I saw online is that the fans were the most. They expected a lot more from the Samochuk James fight. James is just such a prolific finisher, has a wealth of experience, fought everywhere in the world, fought in America, fought in Russia. Just a very, very dangerous fighter. I think people were expecting that fight to spend a lot more time in the stand-up, and even if it does go to the ground, James has a couple of submissions to his name. So I felt like that that fight should have delivered a bit more. But even the Sudario Augusto fight, both these guys are stand-up fighters, and we kind of saw them staring at each other for 15 minutes. I mean, credit to Jose, he got a knockdown early on. He landed a nice spinning elbow later on in the fight. And funny story, I was ringside with Sina Karimian filming his reaction to that fight, because Sina's been talking about fighting Japanese heavyweights for months now. He he had every name in the book for Sudario during that fight. He was even trying to coach Jose Augusto in between rounds. He literally went up to his corner, and the officials had to kind of send him back to his chair because he was trying to coach in between rounds.
You know what? I think I remember that particular moment, because that was when Lenny Hart was just basically about ready to snap.
It's like seconds out. It's just getting the people out of the ring.
Oh, please. Hello. Seconds out.
Yeah, the half dozen times that's happened in Japanese MMA history, that might have been one of the occasions. It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
But
Jay Chris, can I answer? Can I answer about the Heavyweight Grand Prix now?
Yeah, you can go ahead and answer. You can basically talk about the one good fight that was out of the three that happened.
Well, sure, but you initially asked what was the most disappointing thing, and I want to say it was Augusto, because remember not only did he score a knockdown in that first round, but he didn't know the assignment. The highlight grounded kick knockout was right there, and he just like looked there and stared at him on the ground. It's like, dude, what's going on? How come these fighters don't know the assignment?
Think of it, Jay. You could basically say Augusto had cold feet.
Exactly. Yeah. What was up with that? And then after the fight, he goes, he does like a jumping backflip in the middle of the ring, like. And I was so happy that Chevello and Damian Beatdown Brown on commentary chastised him for it. We're like, dude, what are you doing? That shows that you didn't empty the tank in the fight.
I mean, like for Augusto, and excuse my lingo, go aside, but what the fuck even warranted that damn backflip of him even getting that win? I mean, I would have understood if it was a first round knockout off of that knockdown he had of Sudario in the early going.
Exactly, yeah.
But he didn't really do shit to basically warrant that victory,
Yeah, and the only reason that why we're being so harsh on is because we had high expectations for this Heavyweight Grand Prix. I mean, we still do. Remember on June 14th in Sapporo, Sodakin, the final Grand Prix participant that was just announced. We just had a presser the other night announcing several fights for the Landmark 11 on June 14th in Sapporo. And Sodakin's the Heavyweight Grand Prix, final Heavyweight Grand Prix matchup. He's facing a fighter from is it South Africa?
France.
It's France.
Okay, France.
He's fighting the Hexagon MMA champion, Prince Abnallah.
Yes, and he's got like 22 wins or something like that. I was very happy with that replacement. I'm really happy with that matchup. And we're joking online in the RIZIN Discord because everybody was shitting on the Heavyweight Grand Prix, having a bunch of decisions on it. But I was saying, hey, Sodakin and Prince are going to save the Heavyweight Grand Prix. You guys watch, and I'm going to troll you endlessly because it's going to be awesome. So I can't wait for that one. But I mean, to get back to this card on Otoko Matsuri, it just is because we had such high expectations of it. That's the only reason why. Because heavyweights, you expect them to bang, get some finishes and knockouts, and then to see Augusto just, I mean, like Jay Chris said, get cold feet and not know the assignment and not score the highlight grounded kick when it was right there in front of him. And it's like, people were like, come on, you guys. But thankfully, to get back to what Jay Krish was saying about, what was the best part of the Heavyweight Grand Prix that was on Otoko Matsuri, that was clearly Ueda Shibasai. I mean, we all knew this coming into this fight. Highlight that one was going to be an awesome banger, and it was, because Ueda, Kyokushin karate background, has fantastic. And I think even it was either you, Jay Krish, or it was Aisha on the City Life Project. Shout out to Aisha, City Life Project podcast, where he was saying that Shibasai was susceptible to body strikes. And we were predicting that, Ueda with his karate background, he could score a kick to the body knockout. And that's exactly what happened. So, I mean, I was very pleased with that one. Very happy to see Ueda move on. And what I'm hoping for a Ueda Sodakin final. That's what I would like to see.
You know what? That would be really cool to see, especially considering the fact that the first two fights of the Heavyweight Grand Prix, I'll admit, even though I interviewed Daniel James, he probably should have done more time training on his weight rather than talking to myself, to the Combat Sports Today people, or to Andrew Benjamin, my podcast partner, my usual podcast partner. But Mikio Ueda survived a 100-man Kumite tournament. I mean, and yeah, he just turned 30 as of 72 hours ago, as of the time of this recording. But still, though, the dude has a bright future ahead. And if he keeps kicking them legs out from underneath people, just like how he did Showtime, I think the future is going to be quite bright for him, especially if the opportunity does present itself for him to face off against Ryan Bader, who, of course, Combat Sports Today saying that they are ready to see Bader inside the RIZIN ring. That's pretty damn obvious. We'll get to that in a moment. But still, though, as far as the two fights that happened, do you think that has something to do with the fact that RIZIN wants to appeal to a more Western audience with the hiring of Michael Cravens from New Japan?
You asking me?
Yes.
I think the matchmaking is whenever Sakakibara-san wants to put a fight together. Of course, he's considering the international audience, regardless if we have a couple of international people in the office or not. He's always considering the international audience, and he's been saying for years that he wants to expand internationally. I think ever since COVID, we had a bit of a slow period in terms of international talent. Before COVID, you saw so many international guys. Yuri Prohaska, Manel Cape, the list goes on and on. You've seen so many guys come. Yeah. There's always been a consideration for the international audience. It's just about the storylines. It's about finding compelling personalities. That's really the important thing, and it's also about who's available. I think the heavyweight division right now in MMA, unfortunately, isn't at its peak compared to even 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We're not seeing the same types of athletes come through the heavyweight division, whether they're choosing different sports, whether they're, there's just less people interested in competing at heavyweight. I'm not sure what is causing that. That being said, I think the talent that we were able to find in the time period we were able to find them, obviously the first round wasn't too indicative of their talent or how exciting they can be, but I think the next round of matchups, you'll see a lot more exciting fights.
Excellent. And I have a question about that, because, and it gets back to the Combat Sports Today news fam, what they were asking about or talking about with excited to see Ryan Bader in the ring. Now, this Heavyweight Grand Prix, one of the reasons why it's so exciting is that you have a lot of international fighters, like you were saying, and a lot of collaboration there. Augusto is from LFA, Daniel James from PFL Bellator, and so on, right? And Merrick was from KSW. There's collaborations with going on with them, which is absolutely sensational to see. We absolutely love it as a fan, and that's what I wanted to ask you about, is these collaborations, so that they're still going strong with like KSW and LFA and possibly. I mean, what about?
Jay, I hate to interrupt, even though it's my fucking show and it's kind of my thing, but you can also say that Hideki Shrek Sakine fought in Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, and it would be a nice little addition. I mean, it would be a cool little thing to bring Josh Barnett on for at least a one-shot appearance in RIZIN.
and he did say he was willing. I talked to him at Bellator 190 or 290. Excuse me. It was Fedor Emelianenko versus Ryan Bader, and Sakakibara-san was there. I got a picture with him. It was fantastic. But Josh Barnett was there, and I talked to him saying, hey, you know, I'd like your fight in Ganryu Jima, moat fighting. And I was like, what about, you know, you going to the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation? And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm totally down for that. So, you know, that could definitely be in the future. So the answer, Keto Okoli. And then to get back to Combat Sports Today News fam, talking about Ryan Bader, that could, you know, Bader was brought into the ring, announced that he had to sign with the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation. He's going to be facing the winner of this Heavyweight Grand Prix. It just takes to another level of excitement for this Heavyweight Grand Prix. Absolutely love it. And I'm really thankful to Sakakibara-san and the entire RIZIN Fighting Federation. We have 2 Grand Prix this year. And we'll get to the second one, which is going to be the Flyweight Grand Prix, a little bit lower down the card because there's several Flyweight fighters that are probably going to be in that Flyweight Grand Prix. Right now we're talking about the Heavyweight Grand Prix. And Ryan Bader is the fighter that's going to be facing the winner of this Heavyweight Grand Prix. And, you know, so Dokken, this is what I want to ask you, Hafid. So Dokken, he was from Dana White's Contender Series. Now, I know there's no official collaboration with the UFC and Dingleberry Dana, even though Sakakibara-san Goat has been, you know, very, very nice Dingleberry Dana, sending over fantastic fighters like Kaya Sakura and now Kyoji Horiguchi and helping facilitate that. But was there any reciprocal, you know, stuff from Dingleberry Dana UFC and possibly sending over Dokken from the Dana White Contender Series? Remember, on Dana White Contender Series, he scored he should have won, but he was disqualified for an illegal knee, you know, which is perfectly legal in the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation Superior Rule Set. So is that what put him on your guys' radar? Or is there any kind of – and also Jiri Prohaska and Poatan Pereira were Otoko Matsuri. And then also, remember, on New Year's Eve, they had Sugar Sean O'Malley was in the ring as well. So, I mean, is there any – can you shed any kind of light on – is there any relationship going on with the UFC? Because we see something in the future with them, like a trade or anything with Sodakim. Part of that was Poatan. Part of that is there – like was there – like sending over Kai and now Kyoji, is there any kind of reciprocation happening with the UFC?
As much as I would love to say, you know, we have such a close relationship with Dana that there is that type of relationship happening. I don't believe that's the case, especially considering Soldotkin. He came from FNC, which is a promotion in Croatia. So we're very grateful to have that connection with FNC and all of the other promotions that are collaborating to make this Grand Prix happen. As far as Dana White Contender Series, this is actually a funny topic. I had the impression that Dana White Contender Series is just an extension of the UFC, but apparently it is its own promotion. Dana had to go out and get a separate promoter's license to run that event, even though they're using the UFC Apex, even though they're featured on ESPN+. They're their own promotion, and I guess officially they have no connection to the UFC, even though fighters who compete there get UFC contracts. So even though Sodatkin did compete, and though he did, get a win using the Epic rule set, the superior rule set, there is no official connection there. And as far as Poatan and Yuri and Sean O'Malley coming to Japan, those are all separate dealings aside from the UFC. Some of those guys, they want to come to Japan on their own. Some of them, obviously, they were invited to be part of the opening ceremony, or they happen to be part of the opening ceremony. So those are all, not connected. They're separate.
Okay, so the UFC didn't have to sign off on that or anything. It was totally separate, and there was just those fighters on their own.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's not like an official thing that we had to go through the UFC to do.
Okay, cool. Drew's gonna love that answer because we've been going back and forth in the Discord, and just he's gonna love hearing that. So I'm gonna hear it for the next couple of weeks on that one. But that's great to hear. And speaking of this collaboration, you're talking about FNC, yes, Sodakin and LFA with Augusto and KSW, which we absolutely love seeing the collaboration with KSW. I wanted to ask you about the relationship with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Remember, you guys had a fantastic show last year. I think it was either RIZIN 49 or something like that. I forget which one it was. but you had an actual couple bare knuckle fighting fighters, and even a bare knuckle ref was over there doing, reffing the fights. And what I want to know is that collaboration still going strong? Is that collaboration still alive and going strong?
Yeah, as far as I know, there's still a relationship between Mr. Feldman and Sakakibara-san. I know John Dodson fought Soya last summer under BKFC rules, and Shinotsuka fought Justin Martinez. I cannot remember which event that was.
I think that was RIZIN 48, to be honest.
In September?
Yeah.
I don't think it was RIZIN 48. I think it was an earlier event.
If anything, let me at least try and check. Tatsuki Shinotsuka knocked out Justin Martinez at RIZIN 46, not 48.
There you go. 46. Oh. So that was the show at the end of April, I think.
Last year.
That was when Suzuki fought Kanehara. Yeah. So so there's been, talent exchange, you could say, because Justin came over from BKFC. Dodson obviously came over from BKFC. I haven't heard any rumblings of what the next step is or what the next talent share looks like. But yeah, as far as I know, they have a good relationship. Actually, before Shinotsuka fought Justin in February of last year, Sakakibara-san went over to Florida, Hollywood, Florida, to watch a BKFC event. So yeah, they have, as far as I know, a good relationship, and nothing's changed since then.
Okay, that's great to hear. And Shinotsuka, he was supposed to come over and fight in Knuckle Mania in LA, but he got injured and had to pull out of that one. So I was wondering if that was still going to happen in the future. Are you still going to send over fighters to fight in bare knuckle and keep that talent exchange going strong?
Yeah, as I've said a couple of times on this show so far, those opportunities, the door is always open. It just has to be the right fighter at the right time. So like I said, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about, like a date or a fighter in an upcoming event. But the door is always open.
That's fantastic to hear. We absolutely love hearing that. And the reason I was bringing that up is because on this card, as you alluded to, John Dodson, the current bare knuckle flyweight champion, he was rematching Soya from that bare knuckle fight that they had at RIZIN 46, I guess. And that was a very close fight that, if it wasn't for the knockdown that Dodson scored, Soya would have beat him. And then in this fight, Soya got his revenge. And we were wondering if, potentially in the future, maybe they could rematch under maybe in the Flyweight Grand Prix or something. We don't know, but that's what I wanted to transition into that bout. Is that okay, Jay Krish?
Yeah, we can go ahead and go ahead and break from, the traditional card rundown and just talk about the flyweights, because of the fact that Shinotsuka lost to Hiroya Kondo. And yes, I'm going by his actual first and last name, even though y'all go by his actual first name, Roya. That was via ground and pound knockout, 2 minutes, 11 seconds of round number 1. Takaki Soya defeated John Dodson via unanimous decision, getting his revenge. I mean, if anything, Soya basically said in the post-fight presser that he would like to face John Dodson in a kickboxing bout. That would be intriguing. And then you got Ersin Yamamoto submitting Daichi Tomizawa with all the energy that he can muster up from his uncle's legendary career. And then Joe Hiromoto defeated Toki Tamaru in Tamaru's MMA debut via unanimous decision after 3 5-minute rounds. So yeah, we can definitely talk about the flyweights, but also when it comes down to the Flyweight Grand Prix, I heard it was going to be a 16-man tournament, but when it comes down to it, do you think that any of the winners from these 4 fights would be warranting those first slots in the Flyweight Grand Prix?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty natural decision to come to. I mean, like Shinryu and Ito both, they also are flyweight fighters, and they fought each other. Ito obviously coming off of that amazing performance against Tony Laramie at RIZIN 50. And Shinryu is just one of the top Japanese flyweight talents. He's had his ups and downs, loss against Ogi Kubo, loss against Shorty Torres. He's picked up some wins in the meantime against Ito and I think is it Jun Hyun Lee, the Korean fighter. So Shinryu is just, I would imagine, is a shoe-in. Ito also is just one of the top talents. I don't know honestly what the landscape of the Flyweight Grand Prix will look like. I would imagine Ogi Kubo's in there as well. So I think the fans can expect a pretty healthy representation of Japanese talent in the Flyweight Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
But also we also have international fighters as well. Zulu, Ali Beck, Laramie. There's just so many. Yeah, there's so many names to pull from.
Mm-hmm. I can understand.
Great
that.
to hear. And Hafid, real quick, can you confirm now, like what Jay Chris was saying? If you can't, don't even trip. But can you confirm or deny if it's going to be in fact a 16-man Grand Prix, which is what all the fans want?
A 16-man Grand Prix. I'm just trying to think of the logistics of that. You know, how many rounds would it, like, not rounds of the fights, but like within the bracket, how many rounds would that be? Would there be plans to do
two rounds and then a one-night Grand Prix final on New Year's Eve, meaning the semifinals and finals are on the same night, Almighty Pride FC style? That's you guys used to do those Grand Prix like that. To me, that's what makes them cool. I call it the supreme tournament format. I just absolutely love it. That in addition to your guys' superior rule set, I believe is what makes you so freaking cool. Just better than anybody. It's my favorite promotion ever. It's just sensational. So, and please send it in to Sakakibara-san, and please, commit to preserving the full superior rule set with grounded kicks and stomps. There's nothing better. It's absolutely sensational. And you can look at Aisha from City Life Project. He's always giving the UFC shit for whenever there's a fight that's like grounded, wall installing or whatever, lay and pray and stuff. It could be ended with some grounded strikes. He's always holding their feet to the fire, going, hey, on the superior rule set, this fight would have been finished right now. So I just want please send in Sakakibara-san that we absolutely love the superior rules. It's what makes you guys so freaking cool. And with the Flyweight Grand Prix, we would love it to be 16-man, to please have the final be a one-night Grand Prix final like the traditional Almighty Pride FC does, and how you guys used to do it, because that is also what I believe makes you guys so freaking cool. And nobody else does that. It's just freaking awesome. So, and that's what it would look like if it was 16-man. It would have, we were thinking of kickoff in July at Super RIZIN 4, and then you have the next round, the quarterfinal rounds in like, September, August, October-ish, right? And then for New Year's Eve, then you have the semifinals and final in one night. And for me, I think that'd be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Whenever we do Grand Prix, whenever anyone does Grand Prix, I want to see multiple fights in one night. That's what really determines who's the toughest man, and it always provides such an amazing, memorable story. Like when Tofik won the Grand Prix, beating Johnny Case and Patricky Pitbull in one night. That's amazing. That's the stuff of legend right there. That's the stuff that catapults you to the world stage. Everyone hears about the guy who beat two guys in one night. Everyone hears about that. Mm-hmm. So. If that is the only way to make that happen is a 16-man tournament, that's something I would also like to see happen. But I guess I haven't heard any developments as to whether it's going to be a 16 or 8-man.
Okay, could you please send it in to Sakakibara-san and Shingo-san that all the fans, we want the 16-man, and to do that plan to have it be a one-night Grand Prix final on New Year's Eve. Absolutely, and thank him for us.
I'll throw that on the list. I know you got a list of things you want me to send into Baragoat. So.
Hafid, believe me, JayWolf's list is about as long as somebody's rap sheet.
Yeah, I'll attach it to my resume after the show. I'm going to send it in and try to get a job with you guys. Cathal Coley, he's in Ireland, so that'll be for your RIZIN Ireland show. I'll be right here ready to go for the LA office whenever you guys open the RIZIN LA office.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Can't wait.
I mean, if we go ahead and move on, and I mean, if we
what do you mean move on, bro? We barely started talking about these flyweights.
I mean, yeah, we can talk about. Well, actually, what I was trying to say is, could we go on to talk about the Sabatello Ota fight? But yeah, as far as the flyweights are concerned, I mean, out of the 5 fights, then yeah, we can go ahead and count Shinryu versus Ito as one of those 5 flyweight fights that were on this card. Which one did you think impressed the most, aside from who actually? No, wait, actually, what I'm trying to say is, which of these flyweight fights on the main card do you think impressed the most, so to speak?
Impressed me the most. I think my guts tell me probably Ersin Yamamoto. He probably impressed me the most. I think a lot of the other fights, like Hiroya versus Shinotsuka, yeah, I mean it was a emphatic finish. Shinotsuka was making his MMA debut. He obviously has a terrific background in kickboxing and boxing. But as far as the way the fights played out, the matchups, how competitive the fights were, I think Ersin really performed. Maybe exceeding many people's expectations. I think the people who know Ersin's background well and know his career very well, they understand that he was a bit overmatched. And even saying bit is putting it mild. He was quite overmatched early in his career. He was fighting up 2 weight classes against guys who have tons of experience. He's fighting at flyweight now. People forget he fought at featherweight and bantamweight for most of his career. Against guys like Kron Gracie, against guys like Tokoro Hideo, against these guys with so much experience. So Ersin, I think, is really settling in and finding his rhythm at flyweight and getting matched against guys who can give him competitive fights, allow him to put on performances like this. So I would have to say Ersin.
I mean, come on. Don't even get me started about the Ersin Yamamoto Kron Gracie fight. That was a mismatch completely, you know. They were just trying to do that for legacy's sake. I think they probably did Yamamoto's legacy a very sad solid on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, what people forget about Japanese MMA and how the fans look at the events, they look at the story behind the fights as well. I think many Western fans will look at that fight and be like, well, that's a meaningless fight. Why make that fight happen? But they don't know about the Yamamoto family's history against the Gracies in the mid-2000s. Ersin accepting that fight and taking that fight shows his spirit and his willingness to fight, even though he doesn't have the experience, even though he doesn't have the weight to even fight, to properly compete at that weight class. That just shows how amazing of a warrior he is as a fighter. So I think, Ersin, like I mentioned before, he's finding his rhythm. He's getting matched up against the right opponents, and you're going to see him put on a lot better performances from here on out.
Oh yeah, I mean, come to think of it, he's probably going to go on to blaze a trail like Kyohei Hagiwara is doing right now, and just say, "Hey, I'm not going to lose another fight for as long as I have a career."
And I 100% agree that Ersin was super impressive, and also I want to talk about Dodson's and Soya's fight as well, because Shinryu and Ito, even though Shinryu beat Ito, you were Hafid, you were saying that Ito and Shinryu are both probably going to be in the Flyweight Grand Prix. Well, we're thinking the same. I was seeing some comments about Dodson and Soya. Some say that Dodson got robbed, so I would like Dodson to also be considered to be put in the Flyweight Grand Prix, especially if it's going to be a 16-man Grand Prix like we're all hoping, even though he's coming off a loss. And also, I want to mention, you talk Hiroya. I mean, he fought at flyweight, right? According to Tapaldi here, he was fighting at flyweight.
Yeah,
the crowd was going crazy for him. Did you hear how loud the crowd was for Hiroya?
Dude, let me tell you right now, for Hiroya Kondo, that crowd was loud enough to break the decibel barrier.
It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it. In the Discord chat, we're going, dude, are you guys hearing this crowd pop for Hiroya? This is great. I mean, this was how many mixed martial arts fight was that for him?
It was
around like 15 or 16, something like that.
It was MMA fight number 25 for him.
25. Oh my god, that's right. Yeah, he does have double digits in both.
For Hiroya?
Yes, it was MMA fight number 25. RIZIN fight number 6 for him.
Oh, geez, the Tapology is way off then. But anyways, so okay, but it was just sensational to hear the crowd just go crazy for him, and definitely, I mean, obviously he should be put into the Flyweight Grand Prix as well. I mean, but we just couldn't believe it. I mean, that was like it was like he's like getting superstar pops. That was like the only louder pop that we heard all night was for Mikura Asakura, the biggest star.
Come to think of it, Jay, as we pro wrestling fans like to say, you could basically say it was like the Road Warrior pop.
Yeah, it was massive. It was incredible to hear. So I'm just really happy that the Epic RIZIN is, getting all these, potential superstars coming up here. It's just fantastic to see. So I just
Yeah.
want to point that out about the Hiroya fight, and how great that was to see, how great and rich your guys' flyweight division is becoming. And just I love, and the heavyweight, do we love seeing you guys expanding your divisions? That's another thing that we wanted to ask you about. Is there any plans to continue expanding your guys' divisions?
So that obviously, this is a question even I've asked internally. Like, are we planning on doing more welterweight fights? Because obviously we had Igor Tanabe, Strasser Kichi. They were scheduled to fight a couple of times, and the answer that I get is that we don't have the talent within Japan or the personalities within Japan to really build those divisions out. Even at welterweight, like with Igor Tanabe and Strasser Kichi, let's say Igor goes out there and he wins the fight. Who is Igor going to fight next? Can you guys think of anybody who comes to mind that you really want to
see? We don't think it has to just be Japanese fighters. I get that's what Sakakibara-san and them want because it sells fights in Japan. But I mean, you could have divisions where there's no Japanese. I mean, look at the Almighty Pride FC. That's what we were talking about on Todd's podcast, the Japanese MMA Beat, where we're talking about what the Epic RIZIN needs to do to achieve that Almighty Pride FC 2.0 status, and that's to expand the rosters and bring in international fighters. So, just another thing add to the list of sending it in to Sakakibara on them is that just because you don't have a Japanese fighter at that weight class for right now, doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing some fights in that weight class and building up those weight classes. You can bring in international guys. So but I love what you guys are doing right now. You guys are like the WEC of Japan. Remember, WEC used to be mainly the lighter weight divisions and just a couple of heavier division fights. And so you guys are like the WEC with superior rule set right now. It's sensational. But we would like to see you guys expand the roster. And even in divisions where there's not a Japanese star, just bring in international guys. And look at how, pre-pandemic RIZIN, remember the light heavyweight division was sensational with Jerry Prohaska, Nemkov, all these superstars of today. King Mo, exactly, yeah. And there was no Japanese fighter in the division at the time. But you guys were still doing those divisions. So we would just like you guys to bring it back and expand the roster further to achieve that Pride 2.0 status. But which I think you guys took a huge step towards with this Otoko Matsuri event. It was, like I was saying, from that opening ceremony, man, with that goosebumps, it was just it felt like an Almighty Pride FC show. It really did. And I hadn't felt that since the original RIZINs were happening. So it was just that's why I was saying, to saying to Sakakibara-san, thank you for doing that opening ceremony. It just set the tone for the whole night, and we would love to see more of that. And yes, to expand the division. And also, I wanted to ask you guys, the next event that's coming up is RIZIN Korea. That is on May 31st of this month. Everybody go to RIZIN.tv. Check it out. May 31st this month. RIZIN Korea International event. Check it out. It's going to be awesome. My question to you is about expansion. Are you guys not only expanding the roster, but are you guys going to be doing more international events? You remember you guys have had one in Azerbaijan. Now you guys are going to do one in Korea. Could we potentially see more international expansion events, possibly even this year?
This is a really good question. Funny enough, this is actually something one of the journalists asked Raja Bali after he won the belt against Kleber. They said, you've won the belt in front of 42,000 people, Tokyo Dome. Would you want to see an event like this in your home country? Obviously, with Azerbaijan, we had the talent to make that event happen. We had Vugar, we had Ragimov, we had Tofik, we had Meyman Mamedov. We have the talent to pull that off, and there's a concept there to make it work. With the Korea event, you also see a lot of local talent from Korea fighting against our RIZIN fighters. So given the right amount of talent, given the right amount of personalities, and if the concept is there, it definitely can happen in the future. But as far as 2025, that's not something I see as a realistic for this year. But I think even 6 months before we went to Azerbaijan, maybe people didn't expect us to go to Azerbaijan. So things can move pretty fast. But yeah, that's obviously something that if it's there, we want to make it happen. People call RIZIN a regional promotion for staying in one region, but if we do an event in 2 other countries outside of Japan, I think it's a bit strange to kind of give us that label.
Yeah, no, that's just haters hating because they're jealous and butthurt that you guys are clearly. I mean, if not the number 2 promotion, number 3 promotion. Clearly, I mean, we always point to the numbers. Your guys' numbers, especially look. You're the only other pay-per-view viable company out there. Nobody else is besides the UFC. I guess maybe KSW and Octagon, but I really don't think. I think they're just getting the attendance numbers. I don't really think they're getting the same kind of pay-per-view numbers you guys are getting. And we know what happened with PF Fumble. I mean, and they somehow with the actual lineal heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, they scored less than 50,000 buys. I mean, no, dude. I mean, just based on their roster is why they're called the number 2. But there's an argument to be made that the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation is the number 2 promotion in the world right now. It's not just a regional promotion. So don't pay any attention to those. They're just haters, just UFC fanboy dingalings, just hating because there's a dragon rising in the east right now. That's why they're hating. So don't even pay attention to that.
Jay, I guess what the fuck am I trying to say? See, I even get tongue-tied on my own show, but see, I guess that would disqualify me from bringing up this particular question from Cathal about why is Japan so behind, really, not just in social media, but really in media in general compared to the West.
I mean, I'll get to that question in a minute. I do want to say, thank you, Jay, for your kind words. We're everyone at RIZIN is very humbled to hear that. I think people within RIZIN and within Japan tend to just look at Japan. Maybe they don't pay so much attention to what's going on outside of Japan sometimes. So to be considered, by yourself and by some international outlets and fans as the number 2 promotion, it's very humbling, and we're very grateful to hear that. To get to the question of why Japan is behind on social media, I guess maybe I don't fully understand the question. In what way is Japan behind? I mean, Japan is heavy on TikTok, heavy on Twitter, heavy on Instagram.
I think he's talking about the international presence of because you guys are huge on the Japanese social media, and you guys are doing articles all the time over there. We translate them from like Gong and like all these different stuff. But I think what Suplex 10 or Kato Coley, his candle Suplex 10. I like to call guys by their handles. And what Suplex 10 is trying to say here is that the international media is just not like it is in Japan. That's what I was saying earlier about the Combat Sports Today news fam. They're really the only mainstream media that even gives you guys a time of day, which is it's really frustrating to us. Like we give guys shit all the time, like Luke Thomas and them for sitting there saying pretending like he didn't know who Azakura was and he couldn't say his name or whatever. And then
it wasn't Luke Thomas that did that. It was his broadcast partner on Morning Combat, Brian Campbell.
Yeah, well, Luke was just sitting there not saying a word about it while letting Brian Campbell say all that crap that he later had to apologize for. Let's point that out. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's just it's so frustrating that they don't give you guys a time of day. Maybe it's because you don't pay for their coverage or whatever, or I mean, I don't know what it is, but that's why I was giving a big shout out to the Combat Sports Today news fam for giving you guys real good coverage, proper coverage. Like they don't not cover you guys. Like they cover everything, but it's great to see them include you guys as well. I mean, because pretty much out here in this is what Suplex 10 was talking about. Out here in the West, it's pretty much us. We're like the only, me and Jay Krish right here on Focus Fights. Drew from the We Are Rising podcast,
And
Aisha from the City Life Project. I mean,
I explain, Jay. City Life Project, Combat Sports Today, myself, yourself, Jay, and Andrew Benjamin, we're probably the only ones that cover this shit on a consistent basis, event by event. We do extensive interviews with fighters. We get a chance to talk to some of these people who actually are competing for RIZIN or just as much of fans of RIZIN as you are a part of it, right? You are a part of RIZIN, then let's just say a lot of the international fight fans really give the promotion the time of day, especially considering the fact that when it comes down to that particular time of day, all regular fight sports media really care about when it comes down to this promotion is, who's the next big UFC signing or what's the next big event. We cover it all,
Yeah, I mean, any coverage that we get internationally, we're very grateful for. It's natural in Japan to get lots of coverage. Obviously, most of the town is Japanese. A lot of the pertinent, relevant info is in Japanese, so I think it's natural to get that type of attention. And I think what is it, Cathal?
Yeah.
What they're saying is, it's not about, I guess, RIZIN's presence internationally. It looks like what they're saying is, how the usage of social media in Japan is compared to other countries. I guess I don't really have an answer to that question. I think trends that tend to take off outside of Japan maybe just arrive to the country a few years later. I'd rephrase my question as, what took Japan longer to adopt social media? I guess in the brief time that I've spent in Japan and speaking with Japanese people, I think a lot of things that trend outside of Japan just maybe for some reason don't click, or they just don't arrive to Japan until years after they've already taken off. I agree, like Twitter kind of blew up over the last couple of years. Even YouTube, being a YouTuber, really blew up in Japan years after it blew up everywhere else. So I guess I can't really pinpoint as to one reason as to why that's the case, but the good thing is that it's happening now, and we want to take as much advantage of it as we can to grow RIZIN's brand.
I think one of the reasons could be Mikuru Asakura. Doesn't he do his promotion breaking down from YouTube? Doesn't he have like a massive YouTube following as well? So
yeah, he uploads like auditions that people do to get onto breaking down. He uploads that onto YouTube. He also does pay-per-views, if not on YouTube, on legitimate platforms like Unext or Abema or something like that. So they've really, really grown. Just to give you an idea of how popular breaking down is, when I was still in the States, I was working for a Japanese company that recruits soccer players from Japan to come to America and play like college soccer. One of the kids that I was helping settle in, when he heard that I worked with RIZIN, he's like, "Do you know Mikuru Asakura? Do you know breaking down?" Like, that's all he wanted to ask me about. He didn't ask me about anyone else.
Think of it, I basically hate to interrupt again, but doesn't that same agency also work with bringing in major footballers or soccer players to MLS?
The agency that I worked with, no, they don't work with professional athletes, just high school soccer players that want to play college soccer.
Oh, just wondering. But yeah.
In Suplex 10, he had a comment thanking you for your answers, Hafid. So
of course.
Shout out to Suplex 10 and you for answering this question. So, and also speaking of YouTube and social media, make sure y'all go check out Epic RIZIN's YouTube channel. That's where they have posting all those, what we were talking about earlier, the confession series events. They do the behind the scenes footage. And it is absolutely fantastic, sensational production done on those. And now they have it to where they have it, the subtitles in a bunch of different languages for everybody. So make sure you guys go check out, like, and subscribe to Epic RIZIN's YouTube channel and check out those RIZIN confession series. It's absolutely sensational. And look, Suplex 10 is right there saying, talking about RIZIN confessions is amazing. And thanks for see, exactly. So that's exactly what I was talking about. And
Jay, I just think it sucks that RIZIN Confessions isn't getting that much fanfare from the so-called World MMA Awards when everybody else who, when every other program that don't even air, seasonal or basically just airs bullshit, just basically gets acknowledged,
Dude, those I don't even call them the world MMA. They're the UFC awards. That's what they are. The UFC and their feeder league awards. That's what they are. So, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The RIZIN Confession series is fantastic. I mean, Hafid, are you behind those at all, or is that like Shingo and all them?
So it's actually the same gentleman that's responsible for all of the videos you saw back in the Pride days, like before the fights. His name
Saito?
is Sato, yeah, Sato Eizo. So he's the one that produces all the Confession series, all the pre-fight footage. He handles all of that.
And he does an amazing job. Add it to the list to send it in. That he does a fantastic job. We absolutely love the work that he does. So, Suplex 10 wants to ask if you guys can put English subtitles on the live broadcast promos.
Yeah, this is an issue that's been brought up before. If you read an article on Sherdog, that was a representative from Sherdog interviewed Shingo, and they asked about kind of the whole pre-fight footage. Why are there no English subtitles? Why is it not more accessible for the international fans? And the response that Shingo gave, I think, was pretty interesting. He said that Sato Eizo considers the entirety of the footage, from top to bottom, the bottom thirds, the catch copies, the text, everything that you see on screen is considered to be a part of the masterpiece. It's a part of the art. And slapping on subtitles, like, on the video, like not like what you see on YouTube where you can press the button for subtitles, but actually having it on the footage kind of destroys or alters the art. So as much as I would love for that to be the case, and maybe we can get creative and figure out a way to get around that in the future, that's kind of something on Sato Eizo's end that it doesn't seem like he wants to change.
So in a way, it's way more than just the match card graphic, to where you have the big booming voice actor just announce who's facing off against who, right?
Exactly.
Maybe they could do something like have like a closed caption. How they do, like you were saying, that they do with the not have it on the actual, ruining the VTR interest, but just have an option where, on the RIZIN.TV stream, where you can have like a closed caption. Yeah, exactly what Suplex 10 is saying right there. An option on the player, possibly. Yeah, there you go. So that I think that's a great idea. It just depends on what the cost is and all that good stuff. But personally, for me, it doesn't really bother me. I don't even mind. I mean, I can pretty much pick up what they're trying to say, even though I don't speak any Japanese at all. I mean, the VTR is so well done by Sato and all of them. Just the storytelling, everything is fantastic. And just like back in the Almighty Pride FC days, it was the same thing. So it just, I personally don't mind, but I understand where Suplex 10 is coming from on that one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be necessary moving forward at some point to get that implemented, whether it's on the player or whether it's, actually in the footage itself. Just from my experience when I first started getting into MMA, watching all of those Pride backstage footage and all of the Pride pre-fight footage, yeah, I think they do an amazing job of somehow really, really conveying a lot of the emotion behind what's happening without you even really being able to read or understand what people are saying. But yeah, it always helps to kind of bring in the rest of the fans that maybe do need that extra, I guess you could say, crutch to understand what's going on. But yeah, that's definitely something that we want to implement at some point.
And you know what it is? Our good friend Teach the Junk, who was a Bellator super fan, he put it best during the RIZIN 20 show. He said that you could feel the love radiating from your guys' product when you know what I mean. So it just you just feel it from your guys' product. All the love you guys put into making this fantastic show, it transfers to the audience. We can feel it. It's a magical experience. Just like Otoko Matsuri was from the opening ceremony on. It was incredible. It was really, like I was saying earlier, it was Pride 2.0 nostalgia. It was incredible. And then Suplex 10 wants English subtitles for the press conference. I mean, wait, Suplex, don't you have? Isn't that on YouTube? I mean, is that?
I mean, come to think of it, what he's saying is, it would be impossible to do it because these press conferences are live. What he means is after the whole post-production, because I tend to do some post-production work outside of, this medium. But still, though, when it comes down to that, he just means English subtitles or closed captioning for when the press conferences are uploaded onto YouTube in post-production.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to go back and say, we're very grateful and very humble to receive those words from you, JayWolf, about, feeling the love from the work that people put into the product. That's something that made me a fan specifically of Japanese martial arts compared to the UFC or any other promotion when I started watching the sport. So we're very grateful to hear that. The people here behind the scenes put in a lot of work to make that happen. And we want to be able to share that with the rest of the international audience. And speaking of Teep to the Junk, he's a guy that unfortunately doesn't get the love that he deserves on his content as well. I know he did some content about old school boxing that I was a big fan of back in maybe 2 years ago. I was watching it quite regularly. The whole vibe, the whole ambience of his content, I really love. So I just want to kind of give a shout out to him as well. As far as the press conferences,
I'm going to send that in to him as well. He's currently writing a book about the main guy. Oh, what's his name? Gosh, I can't remember what the boxer's name is.
Henry Joe Armstrong, I think it is, right?
No.
Harry Greb.
No, that's no. It was who was the other guy with Harry Greb. Gosh, I can't remember right now. Anyways, Teep the Junk is writing a book on him right now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Of course, if you want to check out more of what Teep to the Junk has to say on old school boxing, you can go ahead and search up Random Acoustic Thoughts and
Random Acoustic Thoughts. Yes.
Yeah. And to bring it back to the epic RIZIN Fighting Federation and what Suplex Sin was talking about with the subtitles and all that, and upgrading your guys' media stuff, I wanted to ask you about the RIZIN.TV. What if you guys started doing not only on YouTube, but also on RIZIN.TV, and maybe if you have that, the closed caption option for the like Suplex Tim was asking about for the VTRs and stuff on the shows, maybe that could also transfer to the press conferences as well, having an option for that. And in the RIZIN Discord, we always talk about, we want to see RIZIN.TV expand even their library of stuff. Like what I want to ask you, let me get to the point of what I want to ask you is about, could we see in the future, could you guys bring in other promotions like Deep or the one I would like to see you guys bring, like King K1? They need a international distribution platform right now badly. Could we see RIZIN.TV in the future bringing in other promotions? Because remember, RIZIN.TV is not just for the individual events. There's also a subscription available that you guys should subscribe to. And what we were talking about in the RIZIN Discord is that, if you guys add like Deep or King K1 or Black Combat or something, these other promotions, and you guys also do all the RIZIN confessions and the pressers and stuff like that on the RIZIN.TV as well, that would definitely make it, definitely a subscription-worthy platform is what I'm trying to say. In addition to, obviously, we would like you guys to have an event every single month that would more than justify the subscription.
I don't think they would want to have an event every single month because it would make them know better than what the UFC does.
No, I disagree 100%. UFC is every weekend. I'm talking about just 1 or 2 events a month. What I'd like to see when you guys expand the roster is 2 events per month, 1 cage, 1 landmark event, and 1 ring event. So, but that's way in the future. Look, Combat Sports Today News fam, they know exactly what I'm talking about. RIZIN.TV can basically be the UFC Fight Pass for the Japanese combat sports promotions. Yeah, heck yeah, combat sport. You know exactly. We're on the same wavelength, guys. Appreciate y'all, fam. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Hafid. Is that something we could possibly see in the future?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. I have to say I love the passion you guys have on this show. It is so infectious. Honestly, it makes me feel like I'm a fan again. Like ever since I joined RIZIN, originally just as an intern and doing work, helping out Shingo wherever I can, and eventually becoming a full-time staff. Like, I guess you kind of become you're so close to the product, you're so close to the event that you don't really get to take a step back and view it as a fan sometimes. But being on this show kind of puts me back in that mindset. So I'm really, really thankful that you guys are having me on today. As far as, sorry, go ahead.
No problem, Hafid. We really
Yeah,
do.
no, we appreciate the kind words as well, Hafid. Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, as far as RIZIN TV, and I do want to address what Kahal said. It's not just me, you know. It's honestly it's the whole team, it's the whole office. They put in a lot of work. Obviously, most of it is directed towards the domestic Japanese audience, but of course, we're also putting our efforts to the international and English-speaking fans as well. So, thank you for those kind words. As far as RIZIN TV, so RIZIN TV launched in February of last year, and my role specifically in helping it get launched, I always had the vision, even before I became a full-time staff at RIZIN, is RIZIN needs to have their version of Fight Pass. You know, that's something that they need to launch. So taking on this project was something that was very exciting. You know, finally we can get an archive going, we can get subscriptions going, we can really streamline a lot of that experience for fans and not have it on a third-party platform. We're very grateful for, you know, our time on Fight, on Live Now, on these different platforms, but we think it makes the most sense to have it centralized where fans can get news, live streams, articles, everything all in one place, specifically for international fans and English-speaking fans.
I mean, and I do remember when RIZIN was on Live Now, and it was a dud. I do remember when RIZIN was on Stream Pass. No, it actually, I think it was on Event something. I think it was
Eversport.
Yeah, Eversport. Yeah. It was free streaming on Eversport. And I think that was basically born off the fact that the first two RIZIN events, a lot of the people couldn't see them live because, you know, Spike TV was taking their precious time and they wanted to put it all on a little compilation. So unfortunately, a lot of the people basically seen it on nefarious means in Russian. But still, though, RIZIN through leaps and bounds over the last decade have been doing well as far as, you know, streaming to English language audiences goes. They just need a really good way to show it, and I think RIZIN TV has done well in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, the concept from the beginning was to create some sort of like our version of Fight Pass. I think that would just really enhance the viewer experience. Obviously, with the partnerships we have with the domestic promotions here in Japan, you see fighters coming in from Pancrase, Shuto, Deep, Grachan, Gladiator. You see all of these local promotions, Zest, Heat. There's so many of them. So, you know, we're taking steps to make that happen. There's a lot of strings that have to be pulled, a lot of connections that have to be kind of reignited. But that's definitely the end goal for RIZIN TV, is to make it something that, you know, if a fan wants to see where this, you know, let's say, for example, Yuki Motoya, who is a Deep double champion. He was the flyweight champion and the bantamweight champion. He's fought almost 30 times in Deep. You know, if Deep had their entire archive on RIZIN TV available for the international fans that want to go back and see, I want to see Fukuda Ryuria. He's like one of the top bantamweights right now. He's the current Deep bantamweight king. If you want to go back and see these fights, it's all on the same platform where you can watch them fight at RIZIN. I think that's something that makes sense. So, yeah, there's just a lot of things that are a work in progress, and eventually we want to be able to deliver that to the international audience.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's music to my ears. And I'm sure it's music to everybody's ears.
And before we get back to talking about the final three fights that are that were on this particular card, now that we ran through most of them, Cathal basically said if Michael Craven can do even a quarter of what he did in New Japan Pro Wrestling for the RIZIN Fighting Federation, then we're all in for an exciting time ahead. Isn't that true?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very excited to have brought Michael on board. He's putting in a lot of legwork to make some big moves internationally for us, and yeah, we're just excited to continue to grow and to continue to expand internationally.
Okay.
And you know, on that point about expanding internationally, remember there was a RIZIN Hawaii event that was, you know, looking like it was going to come together when, you know, Scotty Coates was running Bellator and all that. You guys had the presser there in Hawaii and stuff like that. And what I was worried about this is that you guys were going to compromise your guys' superior rule set to do a U.S. show. Is there any way to send it in to Sakakibara-san to say don't compromise on the rule set? You know, there's several states here in America right now that have begun to start using the superior rule set, at least partial superior rule set, with grounded knees and 12-6 elbows. And several states also allow one-night tournaments as well, full one-night tournaments, not just the single round one-night tournaments, but full, 2-3 fights in one night, 3 5-minute round fights, like full, the real deal Holyfield 8-man one-night tournaments. I like to see.
Trying to say is a lot of the states in the heartland, Kansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Colorado allow, those one-night tournaments, I think.
Yeah, no, it's Oklahoma, Kansas, and Georgia are the three right now. And, as much shit as we give Shachi Sitsondong, Shachi Sitsondong and one championship that Jay Chris always likes to say, that damn one championship, as much shit as we give them, we got to give them props for getting that first domino to fall in America by getting at least grounded knees, allowed here, partial superior rule set. And look at Combat Sports Today fam is backing us up, saying that they would love, international fans would love to see shoot boxing and knockout on RIZIN.TV, and your vision of making RIZIN.TV the fight pass of Japan or Asia is absolutely brilliant, and I really hope that happens. And if it does, I would like to say I would like you guys to put King K1 in there as well, because I just absolutely love them. They have the, as I like to call it, the real deal Holyfield Supreme Tournament format of the 8-man one-night Grand Prix. It just, there's nothing better. It's just sensational. So I would love to have them as well. And if you guys are going to be doing international events, please do not compromise your guys' full superior rule set. Like I said before, that is what makes y'all so freaking cool. It just, and just, I know that's what Almighty Pride FC did when they came to Vegas, but I mean, just, that you don't need to do that today. You don't need to compromise it, because there's states, like I was telling you, Oklahoma, Georgia, Kansas, Colorado, all those states not allowed at least partial superior rule set in one-night tournaments. So maybe with you guys is coming in, and maybe we can get that those dominoes to keep falling and get the grounded kicks allowed now. So just really looking forward to keeping to seeing the international expansion. And just please do not compromise the superior rule set, which is what makes you guys so freaking cool.
I mean, one more thing that could also be referenced. Last weekend, around this particular time, actually, Ryan Garcia lost his fight to Rolando Romero in Times Square in New York City. And, of course, considering the fact that he lost and took an obscene amount of time off, some of that time was spent, trying to drum up interest for a fight with Rukia Ampo. That didn't happen. I mean, let's just say, is there any chance we could see Ryan Garcia not be a part of RIZIN's future plan?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's another situation I'm not too privy to the details about. Obviously, Oscar De La Hoya made some noise online. Obviously, Ryan had the fight with Rolly Romero just last weekend, 5 months after he was scheduled to compete in RIZIN. I don't really have any official update on that situation. I haven't heard of any plans for him to come back and have a fight. I haven't heard that it's completely off the table. I haven't really heard anything. So that's all I can say about Ryan Garcia. But kind of touching back on what JayWolf was mentioning about putting on a RIZIN event in the States, if I was a RIZIN fan living in the States, and I heard, they're doing an event in, wherever, Colorado or one of these other states where they kind of allow those rules.
The easiest target to do an event in the United States would be a place where there's a big Japanese population, like, say, San Francisco or Los Angeles, which are both in California, or maybe Honolulu, which is halfway to Japan, halfway to the U.S.
Yeah, definitely. Those are definitely ideal locations. We can tap into that market. But if we were to put on an event, we would definitely want to put it on in one of those places where we would allow the full rule set. Otherwise, I don't think the fans would really feel like they're watching a RIZIN event. They would feel like they're watching something completely different, because that is such an integral part of the RIZIN experience. The ring, the opening ceremony, the rule set. That's what really makes RIZIN unique, I think, in the current industry, in the current landscape of what type of events you can watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely something we would want to prioritize if we do put on an event internationally.
Oh, fantastic! That's fantastic to hear. And we should give a shout out to Shingo Kasawagi, who went to one of those. I think it was ABC Rules Committee, Box Rules Committee, or something like that. And he had slides. I have them saved on my phone. I have them saved. I saved slides talking about the statistics of the superior rule set and how that brings finish. How it's no more dangerous than anything, any other, strike or whatever. And just that was so. And also that's why we call them grounded kicks now instead of soccer kicks, because Shingo was saying on Jay Krish's fantastic interview with him, saying how they want to, you guys want to, push to get those rules accepted here, and to calling them soccer kicks gives a bad image in the brain of like a punt or something like that, even though it sounds cool. But that's why we call them grounded kicks, or I guess that's why one championship used to call them technical grounded kicks, which is fine. That's why we call them that now. But to hear that from you is just so fantastic, so reassuring to hear. I just can't thank you enough. I just love that you guys are not going to compromise what makes y'all cool. That is what makes y'all cool and unique. Exactly like you're saying, is a superior rule set. Nobody else has it. Just like Aisha always. I love how he just takes UFC to task every single time there's a fight that could have been finished because of superior rule set. It's just so great to hear that from you guys. And one more thing before we leave this topic to talk about the rest of the card, talking about RIZIN.TV and what Combat Sports Today fan we're talking about with it becoming the fight pass of the East. Also, is there what I want to ask you about that is, for me, it wouldn't just be having other promotions on there. I would like to have at least a one event per month, or just no more taking these 2 or 3 event 2 or 3 month vacations or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just have more frequent events. That, to me, that would justify that, combined with having other promotions on that platform and other content like your RIZIN Confessions series, the pressers, all that stuff. That would make it more than a worthy subscription. I would immediately, you take my money, take my freaking money. That's what I have to say about that. Is that possible in the future, you think?
Yeah, I think it's all about building the relationships and being able to reach out. I think, if these companies are willing to send their fighters over to compete, why not, feature your events and your archive on that same platform? I think it's a no-brainer. But obviously, in any type of business dealing, you have to build those relationships, you have to build that trust, and you have to present it in a way where they feel like they can win from that type of deal. So it's going to be, like I said before, it's a work in progress, but it's definitely something that we want to take steps towards making happen. And like you said, there's a lot of people out there who would throw their money without even thinking, without even a second thought. They would throw their money at that and watch everything there is available. There's a lot of content out there that's not available on Fight Pass. And I think, we have a space in the industry to kind of capitalize on that.
Yeah. Just like Combat Sports Day was talking about, those promotions that we really don't have access to. I mean, we have to do like jump through hoops with like VPNs and all this other stuff just to watch some of these promotions. And it's nearly impossible for international fans. So you should, I would like you to send it in to them, say, hey, what you guys would get from joining the RIZIN.TV platform is you would get international attention. International audience would be able to finally watch you guys and contribute money to you guys through the RIZIN.TV platform and subscription. And is it possible with potentially expand the roster and all this, because you guys are running 3 Koshian tournaments, and to expand, because that's where Rice Ball Kid is from, was a Koshian tournament, and he's obviously, his star power is just on the rise. And with the expanded roster, are we going to be seeing more events in the future where you're not going to have, these 2-3 month gaps in between events?
Yeah, I mean, in our slowest years, kind of in the beginning, we did 5-6 events per year. In our busiest years, we did 10 or 11 events. So it just depends. Obviously, we had we had another series that we were running at the time. So it just depends on, which regions we want to service, what talent we have, how active they can be. There's so many factors to consider in an annual schedule that it's kind of difficult to say, okay, for sure this year we're going to do 11 events. For sure this year we're going to do 12 events. It really varies year by year. So it's hard to say.
Okay, but I just want to put it out there that with more events and adding other organizations to the RIZIN.TV platform, I guarantee you guys your subscriptions would just go to the moon. That'd be so many of them. It'd be sensational. So I hope that happens in the future. And thank you for your efforts and for sending all these things in to the brass that we're this is how this whole checklist for you of all this stuff to send in to them. So it's really appreciated.
Think of it, Jay is like a kid just basically sending out his Christmas wish to advance.
No, it's awesome. This is the feedback that we need. We got to hear what the fans want, and we want to deliver that. So
true. I can totally understand that. But let me go ahead and right this ship back onto its tracks. That being, I mean, to be honest, I can't really talk about, I can't really talk about the Daisuke Nakamura versus Taisei Sakuraba fight because that was a mismatch bound to happen. I mean, Taisei Sakuraba was in his second fight. He lost to a 64 or 65 fight veteran in Daisuke Nakamura. And let's just say it was just basically, I wouldn't say a waste of our time, but basically made a lot of people emotional just by even watching that fight.
Yeah, some people were saying that, why are you guys putting him against all these, great veterans that have been in the game for decades, right, and have so much more experience than him? I guess they just don't like seeing him thrown into the fire so soon. But to me, that was just like, he was getting a lesson basically, and it just, are you guys gonna keep matching him up like that, or are you guys gonna, now give him more, match him more to like his experience level is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think the matchmaking thus far with Saku Jr. Has had a lot to do with what we want to see from him. So obviously his debut was a baptism by fire. Yachi is a very experienced fighter. He was a title challenger, gave Souza a pretty tough fight in the rematch. And Taisei went out there and delivered an amazing, performance within 20 seconds. Whether it was a fluke, I think people have to wait and see how the rest of his career plays out before they can say something like that, because he obviously showed the power and the wherewithal to land a shot like that. With this Nakamura fight, I think what we were trying to show the fans is, what is his grappling ability like? How can he measure up against what his father achieved in this sport? And I think, we gave him that opportunity. And yeah, anytime you match a young prospect up against a veteran, it is a risk. You see that happen all the time in any league, not just in RIZIN. Even we were talking about Ersan Yamamoto earlier. You can call it a risk, but you can also say we're learning more about him and we're getting more of his story out there, so that when he does, find his rhythm and get on the right track and win some matchups, there's a story of him, making his return and coming back from a low point in his career. We always use those type of storytelling in RIZIN. So thankfully, we're in a position where win or lose, the story is always interesting. And with Daisuke and Taisei, they're mentors. There was a 20-year history there between those two alone. So it was a matchup that maybe some people, I think a lot of the Western audience will look at and be like, this guy's 1-0 against a guy with 60 fights. Why do that? But it's just something that we want the fans to be able to appreciate in due time.
Mm-hmm. And it was great seeing Saku Jr. I mean, I just love how, he keeps his father's, walkout song. It's so great hearing Lenny Hart announcing the Sakuraba's name, and at such a huge event as Otoko Matsuri. It was just, it just brought the almighty pride of seeing nostalgia even more. It was just fantastic. And I saw a comment there from Drew from We're Rising Podcast talking about how I want 50 fights on a card. I mean, that'd be awesome. But my thing is I would just love it to be, at least like the UFC. They have 14 fights per card. I would like 15 plus fights each card, and only like 2 to 3 kick or bare knuckle fights. I want at least 12 to 15 superior rule set mixed martial arts bouts per card. And that this card right here, Otoko Matsuri, is a perfect example of why I would like that, because arguably the best heavyweight Grand Prix fight was postponed because Soldakin's opponent got injured. So that's why he's postponed until RIZIN Landmark 11 on June 14th on RIZIN.TV from Sapporo. Losing that fight from Otoko Matsuri, it didn't even make a dent in the card. The card was still sensational. It was like you didn't even notice it. It was, and that's because there were so many other fights. If they'd only been a 10-fight card, losing that heavyweight Grand Prix fight like that would have been devastating to the card, right?
And
so
you know what?
Another
fight that was pretty damn devastating in its own right, Danny Sabatello beating up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jay Chris wants to get us back on track on this card, so I'll come back to the number of fights a little bit later.
About that, Danny Sabatello came in talking all types of hot shit, basically bashing Shinobu Ota, respecting RIZIN, calling him all types of bitches and motherfuckers like it was a Def Comedy Jam routine. But still, the point of the matter is the fact that Sabatello wants a RIZIN bantamweight title opportunity against Naoki Inoue. I mean, do you think that with this particular win, and it was basically a firefight in the first round, in the second round, it all went downhill for Ota as he just basically met his maker. But when it comes down to Sabatello potentially facing off against Inoue, would you think that fight could happen, let's just say, if not Super RIZIN, then definitely before year's end?
My initial impression is that that's definitely a fight that should happen. Sabatello's coming over from the States, from PFL Tour. He has a history there fighting in the Grand Prix, fighting for the belt, putting on crazy fights. Sabatello really talked the talk and walked the walk this time. We've never seen anyone do that to Shinobu Ota. Some people were expressing doubt about Danny. Like, if you read the comments on the interview he did with Shinobu, between himself and Shinobu Ota, some people were saying like, oh, all Danny does is just spam takedowns and he doesn't really put on exciting fights. He came in there, Tokyo Dome, in front of 42,000 people and didn't take a back step. He went in there through kicks, punches, everything you can think of, took Ota down, stopped Ota's takedowns. He really showed out here. And even after the fight in the post-fight press conference, he said, if Naoki's in the building right now, I want to fight him tonight. I want them to clear the ring, whoever's fighting in the ring right now, and throw me and Naoki in there right now for the belt. So Danny's made a lot of noise. I think he's enamored himself with a bunch of the Japanese fans and hopefully now the international fans as well, putting on a performance like that. Like I said, with the featherweight picture, Doubtbeck saying he wants to move down to bantamweight, I think there may be some fans that want to see Doubtbeck get a title shot. It's really up in the air at this point, and it's really interesting to see how the matchmakers will decide to move forward. I would be happy with Doubtbeck getting a title shot. I would be happy with Sabatello getting a title shot. I think we're in a position, luckily, where they don't have to fight each other. Both of them have earned a title shot, and one of them can sit and wait to fight the winner. But yes, I think before the end of the year, hopefully, if Naoki is healthy, he can fight both of these guys. Or even if Naoki loses, let's say Sabatello wins or Doubtbeck gets, assuming these guys get a title shot and they win, they can fight the next top contender. It's a really interesting time.
I mean, it's real beautiful just to see how that will play out. But it's like I basically was talking about, beforehand. Obviously, Jay, you will remember that. It's basically a big difference between fighting Rafion Super Stotts in a Bellator cage and fighting in the RIZIN ring and showcasing yourself to the masses. And I think Danny pretty much proved everybody, myself included, wrong. That, you can still talk the talk, you can still talk hot shit and basically be about it. rather than just, say, oh, here's what I'm going to do, here's how I'm going to do it, and then just come back, with your tail tucked up your ass and run.
Sabatella looked sensational. We were joking on the RIZIN Discord about how a new mythical fighter was born. K1 striking Sabatello was born. It was just incredible to see. I mean, I had no idea he had that. Like, I was joking with people saying, hey, we got a new GSP with grounded knees theory. We got Sabatello with grounded knees theory. And now it's going to be Bader with grounded knees theory. But, I mean, to see Danny Sabatello just utilize striking like that, and like you were saying, Hafid, he shut down Ota's takedowns. This is an Olympic silver medalist wrestler shutting down his takedowns and, taking him down just an absolute incredible performance. And I was saying pre-fight on the previews and stuff that I thought this was an unofficial title eliminator. That I think that I believe Danny Sabatello more than earned a title shot, to be honest with you. And I would say the same thing if Ota was able to beat Sabatello. I thought that was the unofficial title eliminator all the way, and it definitely lived up to that. It was just a sensational performance, and that's real interesting to hear about how, Doubtbeck, he might be thinking about moving down to bantamweight to avoid shot of life, since they're bros and training partners, all that good stuff. So if that happens, I wonder, would it take a while for Doubtbeck to be able to get down to that weight class? Because he's at featherweight right now, and this is about 135. So maybe it would take him a little bit more time to get down there. So maybe what I'm thinking is you do Sabatello and Inoue next for the title. I totally believe, I agree with you 100% that, Sabatello earned it by totally endearing himself to the fans, backing up walking the walk, talking the talk, and backing up and walking the walk. I think he should get the title. I think that'd be great for Japan, actually, too, and the international RIZIN fan base as well, for Sabatello to get the title shot next. And then the winner of that faces Doubtbeck and New Year's Eve or whenever Doubtbeck's able to finally get down to that 135-pound weight limit. And just I think that would be the best course of action. But yeah, I was so impressed with Danny Sabatello. Like I said, the new mythical fighter, K1 striking Sabatello, just incredible. But what I want to see, I want to know, does he know the assignment? Is he going to utilize grounded strikes, grounded knees, grounded kicks, and stuff like that? I mean, this new K1 striking Sabatello, I mean, who's to say he won't bust out a flying stomp, Shogun Hua style, I mean, I'm just so excited to see what he does next. So, yeah, I mean, that's great to hear Hafid say that he's definitely in the title picture. And I backed that up 100%. I was so impressed with him. I'm so happy that you guys signed him and Bader as well. I mean, it's so great to see y'all sign all these international fighters. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about, expanding the roster and sending in to Sakakibara-san to, don't worry about it. If a division does not have a Japanese fighter right now, don't just get these great international fighters like you were doing pre-COVID. And it just, for the international scene. And, Sabatello is just a perfect example of that, of how these international fighters come in and thrive under the superior rule set Epic RIZIN. And speaking of international fighters, and Spike Carlisle was in attendance for Otoko Matsuri. And I was wondering if you could give us any kind of update on what his status is. Is he a guy you guys are thinking about bringing back? And will we see him in the RIZIN ring again in the future to go along with all these other international RIZIN stars that I would like to say from America coming? Could we see Spike Carlisle be brought back?
I think with any international talent that we've taken the time to, give a handful of fights in, he's fought our champion in a non-title fight. I think it only makes sense to bring Spike back and give him some more fights and let the cards fall a little bit more in the division. There's still fights to be made there that I think the fans would like to see. As far as his contract situation, I'm not the one, in those negotiation rooms and talking with him directly, so I can't really make any official comment on that. But I think there's definitely fights to be made. Obviously, with his last fight, missing weight, having the red card, and He wasn't able to get the finish, so it's a loss on his record. But I think there's still fights to be made, and I personally, from seeing his fights in RIZIN, he's shown a lot of grit, a lot of ability on the ground, and his willingness to go out and try to finish the fight. If you've seen him fight in RIZIN, in Bellator, he's always looking for the finish. He's always fighting very aggressive. So I think he's someone that the fans are looking forward to have back in the RIZIN ring.
Oh, good. That's great to hear, because I enjoy watching him. Also, he embraces the pageantry of the walkouts before. Those are also great fighters that I like to see, come back to the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation, because I love how they embrace the pageantry, especially fighters like you're talking about Yaman, earlier potentially facing off against Mikuru at Super RIZIN 4, which would be fantastic. Yaman has one of the best entrances, a recent memory, where he brings out the Vegas showgirls and they're waving the Yaman flags and everything. And it's just so great to see.
It's only more grander with the fact that he has. I mean, I obviously do my damnedest in jotting down entrance music. I mean, it's just something about hearing that Alfred Newman fanfare, that 20th Century Studios fanfare. Hearing Black Eyed Peas Showdown afterwards just make that shit seem like it's a big event. And, speaking of which, if you want to check out more of all the songs I jotted down for the entrance, I mean, I obviously do a damn good job in jotting down entrance music along with a gentleman named Mickey K over in Japan. And, just be glad that you're not dealing with Def Rebel in the UFC. I mean, if you want to check out more what RIZIN has in store, you can check out the link you're seeing right now. You can pause this video, copy and paste, do whatever. Or if you're listening to this, you can look in the description and check out the playlist for the RIZIN Otoko Matsuri entrance music.
And follow you on Twitter, Jay Krish. You do it live, and Jay Krish got a shout out from Chivalo twice now. That's twice now you got a shout out. Did you hear that, Jay Krish? You got one during Otoko Matsuri as well.
Yeah, I got a shout out from Michael Chiavello prior to the Sheena Karimian entrance, even though, of course, he is the ultimate heel. It's just that he came out to Tiger Jeet Singh's entrance music from New Japan back in the day. But still, though, point of the matter is, if you want to check out all those entrance themes, all those promotional video songs that I jotted down over on Twitter, I still call it Twitter. I'm not calling it X. But you can check out the playlist over on Spotify. Just wanted to clarify that. But still, though, the point of the matter is, I think that Yaman probably has one of the better entrances in RIZIN. But still, though.
Yeah, and I love that Otoko Matsuri, with opening ceremony, we didn't really see any, big flashy entrances, but I loved seeing how, at the beginning fights, right, they brought him up from the side, and then they went to the center, and then they went down the ramp, and then for the main card, or the after intermission main card, to see the Heavyweight Grand Prix and the main event guys come up from the center stage and then go down the ramp. I mean, it was just. It was, the production was elite. I think I saw Combat Sports Today news fam say that the production was elite, and that's 100% correct. And what does Tausif say here? Nice to see Sabatello really wants to become a superstar in RIZIN instead of getting a few. Absolutely, Tausif. 100% agreed. It was so great to see and hear Danny Sabatello talking about how his goal is that Epic RIZIN belt, and he wants to become a superstar in Japan. It was just fantastic to hear, and that's why I was asking about bringing back Spike and these other American fighters. I just love seeing the American fighters in the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation. That's why I was asking Hafid earlier if there's a potential for when Sakakibara-san, Bar Goat, so I like to call him, when he meets with the PFL guys coming up here pretty soon, if he could send in to try to restart that collaboration with them. That'd just be fantastic as well. because they have several guys like Patchy Mix as epic RIZIN veteran, and we don't know what's going on with Vadim Nemkov as well, epic RIZIN veteran as well. I would love. Hey, if they're not going to re-sign it, I would love to see y'all bring back Vadim Nemkov and have him become the face of the not just heavyweight division, but he could do light heavyweight and heavyweight as well. Just throwing it out there, but just love seeing the collaboration, all that good stuff, and love seeing like Talsef was saying about the Sabatel becoming RIZIN star.
Yeah, and credit to Danny. I wanted to say Danny actually tried to speak some Japanese in the ring in front of 40,000 people. Like that's especially after you have that adrenaline and you just got out of a fight. That's pretty impressive that he tried to do that, and he even drops him in the post-fight press conference. So credit to Danny. He's really trying to make himself big out here.
And how did Japanese fans react to that you saw? I mean, it seemed like the crowd, was embracing him. But what did you see about that?
I know that when he said it in the post-fight press conference, the journalists were like, "Wow, that was really good Japanese." So I think, like I said before, I think he's really endearing himself with the Japanese audience, especially after a performance like that.
Excellent. So we can probably see him in a title fight, hopefully coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, of course. And considering the fact that we're starting to run a little low on time, I just want to talk about this last fight that we haven't gotten to touch up on, and that's Tayo Hafid. Now, strong but annoying, as Michael Schiavello called him, Yoshia Uza Strong Uzatsuyo, the Fuji TV employee, knocking him out 1 minute 16 to the left high kick. When it comes down to, and I know that we don't really, Jay and I think we have different opinions about kickboxing, but when it comes down to fights that have, again, storylines, whereas you got the former K1 World Grand Prix winner in Asahisa versus a soon-to-be graduated out Fuji TV employee, taken to the ring in a 140-pound kickboxing fight, 63 kilos, by the way. Do you think that we would probably need to see more storylines like these play out across RIZIN kickboxing as opposed to MMA?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely. Anytime you bring in something that's not MMA, there has to be something compelling that the fans want to see or that the fans can get invested in. Obviously, with Asahisa, he was involved in the whole Black Rose versus Breaking Down rivalry on New Year's Eve at RIZIN Bangaichi. So there was already a familiarity there for the RIZIN fans. And Uzatsuyo, his storyline with Fuji TV and Fuji TV going through some controversies recently, I think that's just that's a gimmick that I think RIZIN is always going to bite on and to try to capitalize on. So. Even if it's kind of funny, even if the Western fans don't really understand why are these two fighting each other, what's the significance, is this a mismatch? All of these types of questions, I guess, don't really matter as much as do the fans want to see this fight or can the fans be intrigued by this fight? So usually with kickboxing, unless you're Tenshin Nasukawa, where your talent alone is compelling enough to put you in RIZIN, there's gonna have to be some sort of storyline like this or a personality that's gonna really, really intrigue the fans.
Most definitely. And Jay, when it comes down to this fight, did you even bother caring about this?
Well, Jay Chris, I don't really. I mean, I do enjoy kickboxing, but I like it when it's like the real deal Holyfield 8-man 1 night Grand Prix kickboxing. That's when I really love it. I mean, for further the epic RIZIN Fighting Federation, like I was saying earlier, I really would only like a couple of them. Like I'm kind of the June 6th, 14th landmark event has 4 kickboxing fights and 2 deep rules 2-round fights, and it's like that's 6 slots taken up by those kick and so for me, I would like to see less kick on these cards, taking up slots, especially if you're not going to do 15 plus bouts. But that's another thing. See this. Like I was saying earlier about when Drew was giving me shit for saying, well, I want 50 fights per card, but the reason that you want to have more fights because then you can have these kickboxing fights for the opening fights, right? Then you can have like this card here. It had, there wasn't a finish, up until Ersin, right? Ersin Yamamoto's fight was the first finish of the night, so it was a bunch of decisions. So the momentum, and if you had less, if you only had like 10 bouts per card, there wouldn't have been enough bouts to get that momentum back and make it like have an exciting finish.
So
that's why you want more bouts. And like I was saying with the Heavyweight Grand Prix, losing arguably the best Heavyweight Grand Prix fight, it didn't even make a dent in the card because there was 19 bouts on, there's 20 bouts in the card. So that's just.
Okay. Not only would you not care about fights like Asahisa versus Uzatsuyo, you would also not care about the 3 prelim fights that took place beforehand, right?
Yeah, unless, like Hafid was saying, if there's a storyline to him, and I would like to throw this out there, what we were talking about earlier with the Combat Sports Today fam and everybody about bringing in other promotions for the RIZIN.TV platform. And when they asked about, the Combat Sports Today fam asked about, could Chihiro defend his knockout title in the Epic RIZIN ring? If they do those kind of storylines with the couple kickbouts, or instead of kickbouts, have, bare knuckle fight or 2 on the prelims and stuff. Because the prelims, that's when it's still in prime time for the international audience. So that's what makes sense to have those at the start of the card. And if there's storylines like that, I would definitely be all on board for it. But just having a random Crush guy versus a Rise guy or whatever, to me, I'm not as big of a kickboxing fan as I am of the Superior Rule set. So to me, those are just taking up slots that could have gone to a Superior Rule set mixed martial arts bout. So that, to answer your question, Jay Chris, yes, I do care and I do watch them, and I would especially care more if they had storylines like Hafid was talking about here with this one. But on the whole, I would prefer less kick and more Superior Rule set mixed martial arts bouts per card.
Understood. And by the way, just to run down the prelim results, Futa Hashimoto defeated Daichi Akihira via unanimous decision, 3 3-minute round kickboxing bout. Vinicius Sushihachi Silvelia, Bonsai Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, defeated Takao Ueda via unanimous decision after 2 5-minute rounds. Keep in mind, Silveria is 24 years old. He's 2-1 in mixed martial arts, and he's going to probably mean something if he continues to train at Bonsai Jiu-Jitsu. And in mixed martial arts at 165 pounds, Yuga Nakaya defeated Hiro Sasaki via unanimous decision. Nakaya ups his MMA record to 2-1. Sasaki sees his record drop to 3-4. But still, though, enough about all that.
Well, I have a question about those. Well, not the kick bouts, but the 2-round deep bouts. Do they allow the Superior Rule set for those, or is that, like it says they're custom rules bout? We're thinking that was because they were just a 2-round like deep bouts, but sometimes deep bouts have Superior Rule set grounded kicks allowed in them. Is that allowed in the Epic RIZIN as well? Because to me, that I would not mind having those 2-round deep style fights if they allow the Superior Rule set in them.
Yeah, so we have different rule sets at the RIZIN events, obviously, like RIZIN women's rules, RIZIN kickboxing rules, RIZIN MMA rules. One of them is RIZIN special MMA rules and or like challenge rules. And what that usually just means is maybe instead of 5 minutes, it's 3 minutes. Instead of 3 rounds, it's 2 rounds. But as far as like soccer kicks, grounded knees, everything, that's all green lighted. So
okay, cool. So then those two on the RIZIN Landmark 11 event on June 14th, those 2-round bouts, they do allow the Superior Rule set for those.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. So then there's only 4 kick bouts then. So those will still count towards the Superior Rule set awesomeness or epicness, as I like to say, for that event. So that's fantastic news to hear. So and also there's 15 or 16 bouts announced for that RIZIN Landmark 11 event, right? Like we just had a presser and they said that I was looking at the comments and there was 2 more fighters that they were talking about that might be announced for that card. Are they going to be facing each other, or is that could be 2 more potential Superior Rule Set belts for that card?
As far as the total number of bouts, I off the top of my head, I can't recall. Something around 15, 16 does sound about right.
Okay.
And what I saw was that it was Suguru Ni and Sora Yamamoto that are still missing opponents.
Yes.
I'm not sure if they're going to get matched up against each other or not.
Okay. So those will be individual fights for each of those fighters. Oh, that's even better.
Possibly. I'm honestly I'm uncertain about that.
Oh, okay. Okay. No worries. That's great. So, Jay Chris, before we end the show, can we talk a little bit about the next event that's coming up here? The Epic RIZIN Korea, their international event coming up on May 31st, right here on RIZIN.TV. Make sure you all check it out.
Let's go ahead and make it quick, though, because we're running low on time.
Oh, all right, fine. Gosh. Well, okay.
But I'll go ahead and run it down. RIZIN in Korea from Paradise City, Incheon City, Seoul, South Korea. You will have, in the main event, Roberto Satoshi de Souza, the reigning RIZIN lightweight champion, non-title bout, mind you, against the Danger, Wong Bin Ki. He will face the Danger head-on. In what could possibly be the co-main event, Johnny Hollywood Case takes on the Iron Spider, Jiri Prohaska. You will have Social Kim take on Shoko Sato. He just got finished off a no contest against Ji Yong Yang. Ji Yong Yang will face Yuto Kentaro Hokamura. Plus, you'll have a lot of action featuring Koji Takeda, Yoshiki Nakahara, Yuri Shim, Kate Lotus Oyama, Sho Patrick Usami, Mason Hide Usami, Kota Miura, and a whole lot more.
Yeah, and
I gotta jump in there. You just pulled a Bara goat. When Sakakibara was talking about Ryan Bader, he accidentally said Ryan Garcia. When you were trying to say Juri Ohara, you said Yuri Prohaska. You said Johnny Case.
Juri Ohara, Iron Spider. I'm not, but still, real quick. Which fight will be interesting from that card, aside from the alleged main event, which is De Souza versus Wong Bin Ki? Quickly.
Man, I think the highest level fight we're going to see is the rematch between Kim and Sato Shoko, because they fought each other, like 14 years ago, something like that. It was a long time ago that they fought each other, and they've both just had such a long career since then, and they're both still top contenders. Sucho Kim just fought for the RIZIN belt in September. He just fought Yan Jiyoung, I think, in December. Sato Shoko's been lingering around the top of the division for years now. He's been one of the top Japanese bantamweights. So if you have to ask me my pick, that's the one.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask you, Hafid, remember on a recent RIZIN, they had a little mini Japan versus Korea. Like it was like 3 to 5 matches. I forget what it was. Mm-hmm. But is that what we can expect from this RIZIN Korea Paradise City event on May 31st on RIZIN.TV? Because it's going to be Japan versus Korea, like the theme throughout the whole card.
Yeah, absolutely. For the most part, it's going to be Japan versus Korea. I think the one bout that might throw people off is that Johnny Case is going to be representing RIZIN or Japan, and that Juri Ohara is going to be representing Black Combat or South Korea. So even though it's an American versus a Japanese fighter, Johnny's going to be representing RIZIN or Japan, and then Ohara is going to be representing Korea.
Yeah, nice. And you guys are going to say, actually shout out the promotions Road FC and Black Combat on the. Oh man, that's fantastic to hear. I love that you guys are working together, and those would be prime candidates to add to the epic RIZIN.TV, the Fight Pass of Asia in the future. I mean, Aisha was telling it for the City Life Project, was saying that at the most recent Black Combat event that they utilize a superior rule set now. A lot of those Black Combat fighters, they know they know the assignment. So we would definitely love to see some more of those guys cross over to the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation. We just love that collaboration between y'all. And that's RIZIN Korea from Paradise City in Korea on May 31st. Get it on RIZIN.TV. Make sure you get, and you know what? You guys should get the subscription to RIZIN.TV, because if you get that, you get the May 31st show and the June 14th show from Sapporo Landmark 11. That's their cage, the Epic RIZIN Fighting Federation's cage series event. That one's going to have those 2 featherweight, possibly new title contenders that we're talking about, and the final Heavyweight Grand Prix bout, the quarterfinal for Heavyweight Grand Prix that we're talking about, Sodakim versus Prince from France. And just Fantastic card. Look what Talis talking about. Kate Lotus versus Yuri Shim is the people's main event. Yes.
I don't blame them one bit, but let's go ahead and call it into this. Let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Wait, Hafid, do you want to say any more about RIZIN Korea?
No, we're too short.
Jay Chris, you can't tell him no.
Up as a podcast, man. Spotify if I go over the 3-hour limit. But
who cares about the 3-hour limit? Joe Rogan goes over it all the time, man. Come on, this is probably the best. This is probably the best Focus Fights show we've ever done.
Okay, well, in this case, Hafid, why don't you go ahead and put over how people can contact you first?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm on Instagram at Hafid Darbaki. I'm on Twitter at spotdodge_upb. I'm on LinkedIn, Hafid Darbaki. I'm not crazy active on socials, but if for some reason you want to reach out and talk to me, yeah, you can reach me there. That's how you can reach me.
Okay, and since Jay loves to run over on time, I'll go ahead and say his part for him. You on Twitter at JayWolf1. That's how
that's just misspelled on purpose because that's when I first started commenting in 06 or 07 or 05, whatever it was. There was like a million other JayWolfs on Yahoo, so I just misspelled it, so I didn't have to be like JayWolf, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, all that stuff. So
yeah, of course.
And if you're a real person, I follow back.
Yeah, and of course you can check out the RIZIN Fighting Federation Discord, as well as the PFL Smart Cage Discord, which Andrew Benjamin just put up. And both of those links, if you're listening to this in audio form, will be in the description. The video form, I'll have to work out some kinks post-production. But as far as I am concerned, like I said, if you're listening to this on audio, you can check out my links. You can check out the link tree for the Focus Fights, platforms of choice in the description below, because I'm too tired and I don't want to waste too much time trying to run them all down.
And join the RIZIN FF Fans Discord channel. We're all in there, including the feed, and it's so much fun.
But still, though, yeah, let me go ahead, give a shout out to Combat Sports Today. You can check out their platforms in the description below, or if you were seeing this on the screen, you can go ahead and do some searching. You can check out Izzy, courtesy of Izzy's a part of the Combat Sports Today crew. And again, shout out to all the people who work in front of and behind the scenes for the RIZIN Fighting Federation. We really appreciate what they do. And even if they're not getting big time promotion overseas, we're still showing them love. But still,
right. And also shout out Aisha from the City Life Project.
Oh yeah. Yeah, shout out to Aisha from the City Life Project. And shout out to my usual podcast partner over on the
Pride never died. Pride has risen.
But yeah,
thank you, Hafid, for coming on the show. Thank you all the listeners. Thank you, everybody. This was sensational. So,
oh my God, you just skipped over me trying to give Andrew a shout out. You still disgruntled over his comments?
What? No. Trolling is allowed in the RIZIN FF Discord.
Yeah, understood. But still, though, you can check out Andrew's platforms in the description of this podcast, or if you're watching right now, check them out. Do some searching on screen. Other than that, it's been fun. I have been the Chillmeister, J. Christian Gary. You can follow me on Twitter, and I'll only say this plug, at J. Chris Gary, JChrishGary. You can check out the link in the description for that. And for myself, for JayWolf, for Hafid Darbaki, I'm not going to repeat the Lenny Hart sounder, but you can go ahead and say again, JayWolf, that
pride never died. Pride has risen.
And we will see y'all next time.